Bases drop Thursday thoughts, SDH AM. We battle the incoherence late in the week. John, hear you there. There's a lot to get into today on a lot of different fronts. Probably going long, and considering that we've got red clay at noon, it's going to be interesting. We can either go long, which is probably what we're going to do, or I can go quick after we're getting the visit from Nino and Niko in the Power Hour in hour number 2. Apologies for when you joined. The open was the middle of the way through because I didn't want you to see my face as the first thing instead of the open being the first thing, because that's why they call it an open instead of John's face. So here's the deal. Power Hour is hour number 2. Nino and Niko as we go around the world in 60 minutes. Obviously, with Nino, we've got to get into Portugal, South America, Libertadores, Sudamericana, anything else going on in his mind, World Cup Chronicles. Niko Moreno joining us at 10:30. We go around Major League Soccer, where we had our fair amount of chaos yesterday and last night. Obviously, we're going to be getting into Atlanta United and the 2-1 loss at home to New England. That's going to be kind of drifting in and out of coverage, but it will be a focus at 9:30. Our friends from Footy Primer joining us from north of the border as a bit of a combination opposition research, look at Atlanta United segment, look at Toronto. James Sharman and Craig Forrest from Footy Prime joining us at the bottom of the hour. But first, opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Start your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy-bodied notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. And for opening kickoff, we kind of go in a different direction because we're less than like 50 days from this World Cup thing happening. I don't know if you've heard of it. Big tournament, has its moments, and something came across our desk and we were like, we need to discuss this. So there was a survey that was brought out by our friends at Upgraded Points, and it has to do with the World Cup and costs and takeaways of said survey that include host cities and the 11 destinations, and the cost that it is anticipated it will be if you go and visit a particular city to catch up with a particular team. And for this, we raise our fingers into the air and we bring in Kyle Beierlein to come in to discuss. Morning, Kyle. Are you properly caffeinated to break all this down for us?
Oh, I certainly hope so. Good morning.
So what is it in the mug, by the way?
Oh, in the mug, it is just dark roast black coffee. Keep it simple in the mornings.
I'm down with that. I'm a Mountain Dew man myself. I've never been for the dark flavored water, so I go with the caffeine out of the blocks from the soda. And first off, I want to thank you guys at Upgraded Points for doing this and hopping on with us kind of like as quickly as you did. It's like, hey, can we talk about it? And you and your bosses were like, yeah, sure. When do you want us? And I'm like, well, how about here? And they were like, okay, cool. Kyle will just bring his coffee in and we'll be good to go. When it came to piecing this together, I want to kind of hold the financials a little bit. When it came to piecing this together, how labor intensive was it? What was it like piecing this thing together? Because I would imagine with 11 different pieces to a jigsaw puzzle and you're dealing with all the economics that's attached and you're going, okay, hotel, plane, airport, tickets, all these intangibles here. It feels like the NFL today all of a sudden. Piecing this together, how much of a jigsaw puzzle are we talking here?
I would say that it is a model that people who are going to the games might be interested in looking at. We looked at a bunch of different factors: ticket prices, places to stay, travel to the cities, travel while you're in the cities. You got to eat while you're there. We just took 8 or 9 factors or so into account of things that you're going to want to be aware of. And just try to see, what exactly is this going to look like? How much is this going to hurt the wallet for the domestic soccer fan if they want to see really any game? No, nothing special, just any group stage game come June.
And with the 11 cities, the numbers that you guys came together with, Boston. Now, let me put a pause here. Did this include the transit back and forth when it came to individuals, or what did it include any of the other local stuff too that we've been hearing about recently?
This was largely speaking flights to and from the city,
okay.
And then also the domestic travel, like the in-city travel pieces we looked at were Uber rides here and there. Uber, we could not really account for surge pricing because that's always just, that's going to be a fun smack in the face in the
Yes.
moment. But we got a baseline for travel in and around each city.
And Boston, far and away, was your most expensive cost destination. And it was, and I'm trying to do 18 over 7. So it was almost 18 over 72. It's almost like a 20% increase from Philadelphia, who is at number 2, to Boston, who is at number 1. Now, was this strictly from Logan? Did you include flying into Pawtucket for this as an option? Because there are times when I'll be flying into something that's going on in Foxborough. I'll sit there and I'll fly into Providence. And it's basically, Foxborough is right there in the middle between Boston and Providence. I fly into Providence because it's a lot easier, A, to get a rental car, and B, to, not have to deal with traffic. What were the variables in making sure that Boston had the number that it had, considering it was like 20% higher than everybody else?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing there for Boston was that when we were looking at places to stay, we used Airbnb stays and took a few different things into account, and we always wanted those locations to be near the stadium. So it's the cost of places to stay near Gillette. So that was the big thing with Boston. But in terms of flying into it, we looked at everything from the largest nearby airport. So Boston Logan is where people are flying into and out of based on our model. And I'm sure there are cost savings if you're flying into if you can find a ticket into a smaller airport. But if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you're like, oh, the game's in Boston. You get to Boston, you're like, oh, hour and a half car ride anyways.
Yeah, and that was part of it. Philadelphia was at number 2 still, and Philly. This was one of the things that got me. Philly was more expensive than the 2 California cities, LA and San Francisco, and then once again you're looking at another 20% from Philadelphia down to LA. So I mean, I thought it was interesting that Philly in the Northeast was far more expensive than LA and Frisco, and Houston and Atlanta in that gaggle from 3 to 6. I thought that was really interesting too. What was the Philly discovery there?
Yeah, for Philly, it was less about lodging and more about the ticket resale prices that we were seeing. We went through, like I said, it's a really standard. It's just, I think we picked the second or third group stage game in each city as kind of our baseline point there. 2 days, 3 nights. And we just, looked at what the original ticket prices were supposed to be, sourced from the Athletic, a few months ago. And then we looked at what we're seeing on StubHub today. And the numbers just got really high. And for whatever reason, at Lincoln Financial, those numbers climbed pretty significantly.
Yeah, and then you had, and let me go all the way to the bottom, because this one for me, considering what we were looking at with Miami, Miami's not the Hartsfield hub, not the busiest airport in the world. Miami's kind of off to the side, and I imagine you could also include, say, flying into Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach or whatever going down. But Miami was almost 1/4, or a third. So a third the cost of Boston, top to bottom, 2/3 less to go into Miami. That to me was really fascinating.
Yeah, and that is largely a function, I think, of when we looked at again, this is largely speaking surge pricing for places to stay, and of course the increase on resale tickets that we're going to see, because the tickets have been, I think it's not a secret to anybody, bit of a nightmare scenario. And then when you factor in the resale market in the US for that, it's just all bets are off. So with Miami, it was interesting because the nearby places to stay were actually not that much more expensive than they typically would be. So I think a big part of this is that Miami already a vacation destination. So the increases, the surge pricing we were seeing for places to stay wasn't quite as high as other locations. And then the ticket resale price that we looked at for the game that we analyzed was also the lowest in the study. And that one, largely speaking, probably comes down to the people who are playing in those stadiums. Some stadiums are getting more marquee games. You're not, you got your Brazil's playing in some places, you got your France's playing in some places. In Miami, it might not be the biggest names of some of the games that we looked at.
Yeah, and it was wild. The markets in order, 1 to 11, just to let everybody know. Boston far and away number 1. Philadelphia far and away number 2. Then you had your gaggle, your chase group from 3 to 6. LA, San Francisco, and it was a $6 difference. That's almost like Cliffhanger or Family Feud. You're sitting there going, it's a $6 difference. Why? And you're wondering, okay, so it's like a gallon of gas maybe at that point. Houston was 5, Atlanta was 6, Dallas was 7, and it was 300. So it was like a 5% to get out of that chase group. Then it was Kansas City, Seattle, New York, and Miami. So was there anything in piecing this together that surprised the group, either in a good way or a bad way, when it came to piecing this together?
I'd say the biggest surprise was number one, the fact that some of those bigger markets are that far down the list. New York being based on our model, the second most affordable for just a very standard group stage game does kind of jump off the page at you because, like, I mean, if you're going to New York, you know you're already spending. But to go and watch, to be there for an event like the World Cup, not necessarily that much more than you might think it is, was certainly the biggest thing for me. But outside of that, I would say it really comes down to how expensive it's going to be to get into each of these stadiums. Whether you're buying the tickets that are continuing to be released by FIFA, not really sure where your seat's going to be, or whether you're are you going to have to hit the resale market. That's going to be the biggest chunk of what it is you want. And I think there's something definitely to be said about going to these cities and not necessarily having a ticket, being there for the atmosphere. That's going to cut these costs down a lot. So I'd say just that unsurprisingly, that resale ticket value is really the thing that was like, wow, that is high.
Well, and to give folks an idea as to what you guys discovered, original ticket price in Boston and Philly, anywhere between $4 and $4.50, $4.10 and $4.45 were the numbers that you posted. And then the resale value pushing $5,000 on the resale market. And obviously, thank you for doing the math on this. That is an 1,116% increase in Boston and just over 1,020% in Philly. And then you get into Houston at number 4 at 821. Atlanta, by the way, at 410, going to 3563 at 769%. That's just staggering to me to see these kinds of numbers.
Yeah, and I it's staggering. It's surprising. It is somehow not the least expected thing.
Mm-hmm.
We all are going to, whether it's a sporting event we're trying to get to, whether we're going to, the new venue to see that band that's coming through. It is surprising how much the American fans are paying for these live events. And it kind of seems like it comes to a head here with such a massive event coming to the US. You can really see like just where we kind of want to set the market at these things. And, based on what people are reporting in the news, it sounds like we might have reached a point where these figures are simply just too high. Because I'm not certain that, many soccer fans are going to be shelling out $3,500, $4,000, up to $5,000 for a ticket that they don't know exactly where it is for one of these games. So it's just that math that we all kind of have to do. But I'll tell you what, watching a game at home on the TV, that's a pretty good experience. Watching a game, in a sports bar, that's a pretty good experience. There's ways to kind of enjoy the World Cup beyond being in the stadium.
And knowing friends in those markets where you're not having to drop the hotel cost in all of this instead of the Airbnb, because those Airbnb numbers that you guys discovered were staggering at points. To just kind of sit there and understanding the value of having a roof over your head that is not your own when you're going to be there for a handful of days. Resale market, you guys had discovered that was big. Then you look at the Airbnb costs. Boston's Airbnb's up 273%. Same for Kansas City. Is there a thought to continue to do this as we get closer? Because I know we're within 50 days, Kyle, but is there a thought of doing one like right before to see if there's any kind of adjustment and see if it's even higher when it comes to supply and demand, or if it's lower, and warning folks one way or the other? Is there another one of these? Is there a version 2 being planned, sir?
I would say there's no imminent plans for a version 2, but it is an interesting idea because this, the analysis here was done toward the end of March. And like you said, the surge pricing, the things that you're going to see are just the lodging is going to get more and more expensive no matter where it is that you're staying. There's a chance that it comes down to a point because the demand's not there. But realistically, for an event like the World Cup, I wouldn't bank on that happening. I just think you're going to see those numbers continue to climb as it gets closer and closer. And if you're putting off, do I want to go? Do I not want to go? You might want to make that decision soon, because if you're getting into late May, God forbid, early June and making this decision, those numbers, you're going to go from $1,100 for 2 nights for a standard Airbnb sort of near the stadium in some of these cities to, I don't, maybe double that. It's just, I just don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but it is an interesting idea to find out, see just how high these numbers can get.
Anticipating the sequel for this one, because sometimes sequels are better than the originals. Very few, but sometimes Pitch Perfect 2 is better than Pitch Perfect, as an example. Rocky 2, Rocky gets the belt. So then you have sequels that are good. Godfather 2, I think, was a better sequel than Godfather, some folks are saying. But you got to be careful with the sequels to find out what the information is. I didn't want to give away all the information in the survey. What other headline sticks out to you? Because I want to let folks read at Upgraded Points what's going on. What is another good headline that folks need to know as they go and dive in on this themselves to prepare for the sticker shock that you guys discovered?
I mean, yeah, I think that the biggest story with the cost data is going to come down to, again, just how much that secondary market's going to hit you, and just how much you're going to have to pay to find somewhere to stay near the stadium. A lot of the other costs that we looked at were fairly standard across the board. Nothing that's going to be insane.
Mhm.
But I'd say like the biggest piece is probably what lies ahead in the unknown. You had mentioned getting around the cities, whether that's public trains. I know in Atlanta you guys have the MARTA, and like things you might not have to pay out the nose for those sorts of things. Places with a solid infrastructure are going to be great there. But then you look at some of the news that comes out of New York, and they're talking about $100 fares to get from to and from MetLife, and it's just, I'd expect to continue to see news like that come out about different places that prices are increasing. So the Uber data that we have, it's somewhere between $50 and $150 for what you can expect to pay to get to and from a stadium. But don't be surprised that those prices also double, because it's expensive to get there and it's going to be expensive to get around.
All right, hit the promo for me if you would, please, sir. Since you are now properly hydrated and caffeinated, hit the promo for me so folks can look at your numbers and see what you found out in version 1, as I anticipate a sequel coming up as we get closer. Let them know where they can find it.
Upgradedpoints.com. Head to the news section, and you'll see the real cost of attending the 2026 FIFA World Cup. You'll see all the data behind the ranking that we did, the methodology behind it, how we took it from a fan's perspective. And then we also have some additional data there in terms of how international fans are viewing a possible trip to the US for the World Cup. So plenty of reading to be done.
And making sure that credit cards do not smoke inside wallets, because the damage that can be done if something is smoking inside a wallet would have to do with a credit card. It's great to see you, my friend. You of the multiple Kyle B's that are there at Upgraded. It's great to catch up with you and continue hydrating and caffeinating. And when there's a sequel, just literally just yell at us and go, hey, we did the sequel that you are asking for. And believe it or not, Rocky did win the count, and he got it before Apollo Creed at the count of 10. Thank you for coming in this morning to break it all down for us, Kyle. We really appreciate it.
Of course. Happy to be here. Thank you, John. And when that comes out, I will let you know.
Attaboy. There goes Kyle Beierlein for Upgraded Points. That was very cool. So, yeah, they were like, hey, did you see this? And we were like, oh, we need to see this. And so that was why we got there. And what I meant was there are multiple Kyle B's literally at Upgraded Points. And so it's trying to figure out, okay, so are we talking to this Kyle B or this Kyle B? And we got that Kyle B. So it was good to catch up with Kyle B this morning to find out what's going on at Upgraded Points with their survey and all the info and the intel that they got when it came to what it's going to cost for a lot of folks who are coming in out of market to see things in market for their favorite clubs coming up here in less than 50 days. So it's always great to catch up with Kyle. And if you noticed over his left shoulder, I had to ask. It is his dad's favorite player was Brooks Robinson. So that was an Orioles 5 baseball jersey. That was over. So we always want to see what's inside folks' offices too when it comes to studio space. Okay, our friends from Footy Prime coming up in about 5 minutes to break everything down when it comes to Toronto and Atlanta. And before we get into Toronto and Atlanta, obviously, we talked about it late last night on the full-time report, the 2-1 loss. Wanted to play a couple of post-match interviews for you, Alexei Miranchuk and Fafa Pico. Fafa Pico was our man of the match. So here was the conversation that Maddie and Jason had with Fafa, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Fafa, just what's the feeling after a night like that?
You go ahead and you start to get this feeling that it's gonna turn things around, but then you get 2 quick goals, and it's tough. It's a tough one.
What changed after they got the first goal?
I personally couldn't tell you. I just feel like that just comes down to a mental issue, and just something that we just got to work on, honestly.
What are some things you guys are looking to build upon, especially heading into Saturday's match against Toronto?
I think the part of us being proactive and getting the first goal, but now understanding that when we are ahead and we are proactive, keeping that and building on that, not just being complacent and satisfied with one goal, but now going for the second, finishing the third, and killing off teams because we have the group to do it. It's just not coming together.
When you have a match like
Yeah, and it was low because I forgot to EQ it when I uploaded it. So that's on me. So tell you what, let me do this. Let me do a little radio magic here because I in trying to rush and get things uploaded, I just was like, hey, why don't we go ahead and upload it instead of actually looking at the audio levels and sitting there and saying, well, maybe they need to be boosted. I'm just saying. But no, you guys are absolutely correct. It was entirely too low because I forgot to boost the audio when I sent it in. So let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna boost the audio. Wow, it did need to be boosted like 20. Okay, so all right, so export. We're gonna do this again, and you're gonna hear it because that's gonna drive me crazy. Fafa version 2. There we go. All right, so just stop. Just stop. That's all I want. All right, so now Fafa version 2. Let me load Fafa version 2 to make sure that it is just the one. No, it's not the whole thing. No wonder it was. All right, so that's just idiotic. All right, fine. So we're going to do this again because it was going to mix both sound bites, and I didn't want to do that, and that was going to be kind of crazy. So, all right, so Fafa version 3. Let's do this. All right. So here's Fafa Pico when he gets loaded here in a second. And I'm going to actually play the sound so you can hear it because you kind of need to hear what Fafa was saying. And so Fafa version 3, that's what we're looking for. All right. So now as it loads, maybe you'll be able to hear Fafa this time because I will have, I don't know, boosted the audio like I should have. Here's Fafa Pico from last night with Maddie and Jason.
Fafa, just what's the feeling after a night like that?
Tough. You go ahead and you start to get this feeling that it's gonna turn things around, but then you get 2 quick goals, and it's tough. It's a tough one.
What changed after they got the first goal?
I personally couldn't tell you. I just feel like that just comes down to a mental issue, and just something that we just got to work on, honestly.
What are some things you guys are looking to build upon, especially heading into Saturday's match against Toronto?
I think the part of us being proactive and getting the first goal, but now understanding that when we are ahead and we are proactive, keeping that and building on that, not just being complacent and satisfied with one goal, but now going for the second, finishing the third, and killing off teams because we have the group to do it. It's just not coming together.
When you have a match like
Fafa Pico with audio adjusted because John's an idiot. So let's do a version 2 of the Alexei Miranchuk. Audio adjusted because John's an idiot. Once again, post-match, Maddie, Jason, and AM59, courtesy of 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app.
here in the locker room with Alexei Miranchuk. Alexei, what's the feeling after a game like that?
When you see, I just said, when you see the statistics of the game and you see the result, it's really like disappointing and frustrating. You don't understand how this is happening, but it is what it is. I need to. On Saturday we go again, so a couple adjustment and we go again. So there is no time to digger. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's football. It is what it is. You never know.
It felt like the team created more chances, created good chances. It felt like there was more movement in the attacking third. You know, what's the next step to build on from this?
Yes, I agree. It was good movement, good understanding of each other. Everybody did their job, and but we're not. We know that in the second half we need to stay focused and alert. But I mean, we can see it in the second one. So I don't know. I have no answer, to be honest. But I know that we're gonna stay positive. I know it's frustrating for everybody, not for only for the player, but for fans and everyone. But we're trying to do our best. We need to do better for sure, but we do 100%.
Alexei Miranchuk after the match, and Alexei's right. You don't have a whole lot of time to think about it, turn things around, because Toronto's around the corner. And here's where we bring in our friends, James Sharman, Craig Forrest. And I've known Sharms for, 20 years, 25 years. So let me bring in James Sharman and Craig Forrest from our friends at Footy Prime. Gentlemen, good morning. You guys had chaos. We had chaos of a different variety. So who won the toss, and who is going to either defer or go first? How are we going to do this? Who won the toss?
How about the Hall of Famer? Let's let Craig do his thing. You know, he's a guy that brings the legitimate credibility. John, you know, as you know, 20 years in the biz and still no credibility from my end.
Oh, whatever. All right, so we'll go to Craig. So, Craig, madness last night involving Toronto. I did not have Luka Gavrin on my bingo card, being the third keeper in MLS history to have a goalie goal, and the chaos that was personified there. So, for those that missed it, because we were paying attention to the match that precedes Atlanta and Toronto, with Atlanta and New England, what did we miss?
Wow. Well, it was pretty special. Well, coming from a goalkeeper is incredibly special. I never scored a goal. I always wanted to score a goal. And for Gavron to do it in his 25th or 26th professional appearance, I mean, he's averaging more goals than Zimmerman at center back, I think, per game. So his goal ratio per appearances is actually very high for a goalkeeper.
So, Sharms, let me ask you this. With the addition of Josh Sargent, there's two S's very close together, and when you're up early in the morning, it doesn't wash very well. When you have the addition of a Josh Sargent to the offense, how different is it looking now than it had been before? As Sharms, I think, is frozen. Nothing like live. You know what I'm saying? So Sharms froze. So Craig, let me ask you that question since Sharms froze, and I'll go ahead and make sure that James comes back in and he's unfrozen. See, that's how this works. So how different are they with Sargent in the lineup offensively now that they have this talisman up top?
Well, I think he's going to do very well in this league. I mean, most designated players, attacking players do well. I mean, look at the league last night. I think there was 43 goals in 11 games. I think it was. I don't know if there's ever been more goals in a day for MLS in history. Maybe, but that was a lot of goals, and it's a frantic type of style. Certainly with Toronto FC, if they can get themselves sorted out defensively, I think they'll have a chance to do something. But overall, they're pretty soft defensively. They, not overly organized at times. Like I said, frantic. But Josh Sargent up top, I think he'll do very well. He's getting lots of chances, and he's strong, physical, and I think he's enjoying his time at Toronto SC so far.
All right, so let's talk backline and the whack-a-mole that folks seem to be doing when it comes to finding all these opportunities. Where are these gaps and weaknesses, and how is it attempting to be addressed? And I think we need all the state secrets for Atlanta coming off of this loss to New England to attack Toronto in yet another matinee at BMO. So what are we staring at here?
Well, I think if Atlanta get at Toronto, they will create chances. There's no doubt about that. But Toronto will also cause problems to just about any team in MLS at times. So they have that to deal with it. But if they can organize themselves and play strong defensively, hold up Josh Sargent, I think they can get a result. But as far as the team goes, over the last few years, it's been difficult. I mean, Atlanta's kind of in the same position, not doing particularly well the last couple seasons. So trying to find their way in the league. And I think that's where Toronto SC are right now. They've made some good moves. For the last few years, I think they were handcuffed with some of their salaries and caps. So they freed up that. They brought in a designated player with Josh Sargent. I think they're moving in the right direction.
All right, so Sharms, let me ask you this. The shiny object is obviously Josh now. Who else do folks need to focus on? Who's in the spot shadow for you for the success here in the short term with this addition of a major megastar DP? Who else do folks need to gravitate toward to sit there and go, oh, okay, so Toronto is doing well despite what we just talked about on the back line. Toronto is successful because of not just A, but B and C.
Yes, it's a good question. And I think TFC fans are still very suspicious of any players that are doing the job properly at TFC, given what's happened the last little while, given the Italian DPs they had that just didn't work out. But I think the optimism surrounds Georgi Mihailovic, who obviously is out right now for a while. A real gut punch to the team, the injury to him, the pelvis issue there. But Daniel Shalhoui has arrived as a player that I think not many TFC fans knew too much about. Maybe they saw him as being a squad player, someone that could step in and do a job at a time, but he's become a star. He's become a goal-scoring star, a real fantastic footballer who's brought a lot more to the table than we thought.
Well, and to that point, I mean, it's Shalhoui is one of those guys, Craig, that in Kansas City, he was a troublemaker. And if you did not account for him, then there was going to be issues. And now I think that Toronto fans are seeing what Daniel Shalhoui brought to the table in Major League Soccer. And this is the guy that you were hoping for when you brought him in, not the guy that was having the issues when Sporting was having their issues. Shalhoui obviously was somewhat of the personification of that. You're getting the unleashed Daniel Shalhoui now as a part of that offense, and that was what you were obviously looking for.
Exactly. Yeah, I think he was a great addition, and his ability to get forward, take chances, find space, find opponents, know where the space is, and find a good pass is certainly within his capabilities, and it is showing certainly in offensive zones for Toronto SC and Shalhoui.
All right, so Sharms, we talked a little defense with Craig. Let me get your thoughts on the back line and the net with Toronto. I want to get your perspective on things and what you're staring at as well here in 2026 after the first handful of matches.
Well, I know you mentioned the Gavrin goal. It's funny, earlier this week on Footy Prime, the podcast, we were talking to Craig about his experience.
Get that plug in there. Nice.
Had to get it in there, John. You know, I mean, it was honestly for a team that has had so few high points in the last number of years. It really is one of those goals that we'll talk about forever. But just this week, we're talking to Craig about, you know, how he almost scored a goal a couple of times for Ipswich and West Ham. Never really happened. He was talking about it was a relegation tussle last day of the season. They had to score a goal at Ipswich. He was up the pitch, back the pitch, up the pitch. In the end, he had to stay back in goal, but he was just hoping for that moment. He never got to enjoy it. So to see Luka Gavrin, who's a really good guy, right? This guy's a solid human being. He's a Canadian boy. To see him get his moment after being a backup the last number of years to Sean Johnston and getting his chance and having a bit of a, it's not a poor start to this season, but he's finding his feet as a starter. To have that moment was brilliant. So hopefully he can build on that. And in front of him, I mean, listen, you mentioned Walker Zimmerman, who I think is a legitimate, top center half in this league, very important. But it all starts and finishes with Richie Larea. Whether he's on the left or on the right-hand side, he's beloved by that fan base. He's beloved by Canadians. He brings that real tenacity. And I think sometimes his ability is overlooked because of that tenacity, how he always plays on the edge. He's a very, very good player, adds great pace. He can defend. He can attack. So I think it kind of starts and ends with Richie as a wider defender, but they have to sort it out, right, overall, because even in their worst moments of last season, they could defend pretty well. This year, sure, it's entertaining. I think Robin Fraser's getting grayer as we talk, just with the opportunities this team concedes over and over again. He's got to get that sorted out, but as any footballer will tell you, it's easier to coach defense and get that figured out throughout a season than offense. And they have the offense right now. So I guess that's the positive. But yeah, they've got to figure something out of the back because they concede way too many goals.
All right. So speaking of the back, I'm going to ask the keeper about a keeper question. The differences between Luka and Sean Johnson, personality-wise, distribution, how they handle themselves, When folks are drifting into CTFC, what are they seeing in Luka that they didn't see in Sean?
That's a really good question. I mean, Johnson was a solid goalkeeper. There's no question about that. And he would still be here. I think that probably as a money thing, contract thing, and decided that it was time for Gavron to get an opportunity as a starter. I think as a starter, it is a little bit more intense, playing week in, week out. That is going to be a bit of a problem and a challenge for Gavron. Johnson's quite obviously used to that intensity. And like I said, it was a very, very solid goalkeeper in a very poor team last year. So Gavron is going to be up against it because defensively they haven't sorted it out yet, and he's under an awful lot of pressure. But I have a lot of confidence in him, and he has grown in confidence as the season's gone on here, even in the early stages. So that's the biggest thing. I think it was just for him to be in the same level as Johnson would really be his goal at the end of the season, which I think he's capable of.
And then
Actually, John, just last couple of weeks with the international camp in Toronto, Canada was based at the TFC training camp, and Luka Gavron was in there. He wasn't part of the squad necessarily, but he was in there as that extra goalkeeper, especially when Max Crepeau was a little bit hobbled to start the camp. So he's getting some time with some very good footballers, different coaches as well. So at 25, I mean, Craig would tell you, he's still young for a goalkeeper. He's still not even close to his prime. Some of these guys don't break through to their late 20s, right? So I think TFC have a pretty good one there, but there will obviously be a little bit of patience. But as long as he's scoring goals, they'll be happy.
Dude, I see what you did there. Not quite in his prime. I see what you're doing there, Sharms. It's good stuff. Footy Prime guys hanging out with us. Part of the equation. I think how many Footy Primers are there now, James? Like 28. How many 20 on your roster?
Way. Sometimes trying to herd them and organize them, it feels that way. Yeah, no, there's 6 of us. But it feels like more sometimes. A lot of opinions, a lot of voices.
Well, but that's good stuff, though. I do want to get into how you guys have evolved as well before you get out of here and we discuss things. So then, James, let me ask you this. You get behind Shallowy and Sargent. Then you're looking at folks like Kerr and Sifu and Osorio and Coelho and folks like that. You know, if you're not a true TFC sicko, these might be folks that aren't even household names in their own household, but they're part of that glue that Robin Fraser is looking for the overall success for Toronto FC in the midfield and in the attack. With these glue guys that are there in front of that back line that's got issues, what do they bring to the table?
Yes, it's a good one, that, because some of these players, you mentioned DeAndre Kerr as a prime example, Kobe Franklin, who's now scored back-to-back games. He's doing really well. These are young players that have come through from the academy in just the worst time possible, for a young player. During the Bernadeschi and Insigne era, where it was, I'm not sure whether it was the all-time lows, but considering the money those guys were on and the fractures, shall we say? I think it's fair to say, maybe in the room.
Is not happy with what happened with that rate of return, brother. That's all I.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't work out great, did it? When you look at the DP signings in the history of MLS, maybe the worst too. Certainly Insigne being the worst. But anyone that's been in a sports team that's losing all the time, you worry about the mentality of those young players learning from those players, right? So it's always a concern. So when you see these young players playing quite well now, DeAndre Kerr getting some minutes finally, up front, I think it's really important. And I think glue is a good way to put it. You want to see academy players get an opportunity just for the good of the club, right? To give those young players that hope that, maybe that can be me next time. But they're good young players. They won't be stars, I don't think, but players that can be good squad members and are cheap. Right, and in a cap system, you need to have those guys that can put a job in with a decent price there. Above them, you have the Coelhos, midfielders who have been there for a while now, have that kind of tenacity, have a lot to prove, but is playing quite well right now. And then, of course, led by the captain, Jonathan Osorio, who no one's played more games with this club than Jonathan Osorio. He's a leader. Again, another great guy, but a Canadian boy, a Toronto boy. If he's not the face of the team, he's I think the soul of that team, him and Richie Larea, and still so important to kind of bring those young kids through and saying, forget about the last 2, 3, 4 years. You had to endure that nonsense. This is a new start for TFC, and maybe we can be in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and Richie Larea just fell down again. Craig, let me ask you. let me ask this: schedule compression and roster rotation. When it comes to this stretch of matches for pretty much anybody in Major League Soccer, 4-12 for Atlanta United, pretty much the same for Toronto FC. Are you anticipating I guess let me phrase it this way. How different an 11 are you anticipating from midweek, considering all of the energy that was exerted last night? You're going to have today, tomorrow, and then, oh, by the way, it's brunch. It's time to play. I mean, when it comes to roster rotation, and, Sharms, you can follow up as well. But, Craig, how much roster starting 11 rotation are you looking at here?
I wouldn't expect an awful lot at this stage. I mean, he's trying to find his best 11 and his best system with what he has. Obviously, there's a couple injuries that he's dealing with, but overall, it's like getting that consistency with a team and a lineup that is physically able to deal with those pressures. Not just, we talked about the goalkeeper, but obviously the out players as well. And I think they're in pretty good nick. They're in pretty good shape. And I wouldn't expect an awful lot of rotation from last night to the next game. Would you, Sharms?
No, I agree. I think, like you mentioned there, Craig, injuries are a big part of this. They have got some high-profile injuries right now. You want to get some consistency in that back four, and the way Franklin's playing, you can't drop him at the moment, I don't think. So he stays in there. Richie's going nowhere. Monlouis and Zimmerman need to get some kind of chemistry, and you get that by playing minutes, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense. You might see a Derek Etienne Jr. get an opportunity, out wide, maybe for DeAndre Kerr, for example. But the depth, as much as it's improving, it's still a work in progress. I know Keith Pelly was talking when they fired the Maple Leafs GM, Brad Treliving, and they were talking about how he's rebuilt TFC. It's like, no, you haven't. It's being rebuilt. It's in the process of being rebuilt, but the depth isn't there. You can't compare it to the top teams in the league. So I think it'd be a dangerous game to play with over-rotation at this point. And come on, they can play 2 games a week. These are footballers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Pelly actually said that they've rehabbed and fixed Toronto FC, huh?
Yeah, through data and analytics. That's how they did it. All done, finished.
Mm-hmm.
Job done.
So, all right. So then, if I was in that press conference situation, I would ask, if they're doing analytics, how do you measure heart? How do you measure the South American, what they call in South America, the garra? How do you?
John, true story.
How do you measure this? Yeah,
Craig will remember this. They figured it out years ago. I remember being at a press conference during the glory years, actually just before the glory years. I think when Tim Bezpachenko first arrived, and Tim is a big data guy, as you know, and he said we've found data points to measure grit.
Oh,
I remember him saying that to this day, and no one asked him, well, what do you mean by that? How do you measure grit? And he had, so they've got the answers.
Okay, just checking. I mean, because that's one of the things that when you're into analytics. Now, let me ask this, and jump in, because I think we've just hit the freeform section of the program. Is it literally 100% analytics? Is it a mix? What are we talking about here? Are they all in on analytics, or are they looking at shiny objects and going, we can't resist, Josh Sargent kind of a thing? Where are they in the analytics VU meter? Where are they here?
Oh, it's interesting because, I mean, when you talk about analytics, it would they just drop in the designated player situation when you had Toronto FC has nailed the designated players back in the day. But they've also had some disasters in the designated player. Jermaine Defoe is a good example. I thought I played with him at West Ham when he was a young lad, and I really thought he would have done well here, but you never know if they're going to settle. So I think they're in a position with a guy like Josh Sargent. Forget about analytics. He's settling, and he's going to be fine in North America. Like, we know he's going to be fine, and he played at a level that we know is going to be conducive to doing well in MLS as well. So analytics can play a major role, and we're seeing more and more of it these days. But I think you're right. How do you really get to the deep side of the heart of it, and what does that bring, and how do we measure that? I think that's still impossible.
I will say though, I mean, measuring heart, I mean, this team has shown resilience to come back. In the last 3 games.
Some of your matinees, Sharms, this year where you're sitting there and you're going, okay, get out the shovels, and all of a sudden it just turns into chaos.
Yeah, it's just done, right? And I think we're kind of jaded from seasons past where you're down 2 goals, forget about it. This team's out of it, but not this year. This team will fight back, but they will go down 2 goals. That's the problem so far, So it's not perfect, but there's certainly there's an inner belief with this team that we haven't seen for a long time. But they are still have that propensity to give up that late goal. I don't know whether I mean, listen. Jason Hernandez seems to be a pretty smart guy. I'm actually going to interview him next week, so maybe I'll come on and give you a better answer. But I think he's gonna. He certainly takes. He understands the importance of analytics, but I don't think it's going to be everything. I think you have to balance it, use it as the tool. We're going through that right now in hockey and up here in Canada a lot. It's the hot. Well, it's not the hot new world where it's been there for a long time, right? But data analytics, yes, it's very important in modern sports. Has been for probably a decade now, right? But it's not everything. Just use it properly. And the signings so far this season have worked out pretty well. But like Craig said, Josh Sargent, you don't really need data points to prove that he's a good player. He's been doing it in some good leagues in Europe for a long time.
My data point tells me that Josh Sargent is a good player for us to have up top.
Yeah, right. You score 12 goals in the league championship regularly. You're probably going to score 12 to 15 goals in MLS, you would think. So, and I think he will. He's been a nice signing so far.
If he's in a system that fits the skill set, because we are experiencing that right now with Latte Lot, who was at Middlesbrough and close to 20 a year, and it has been an adjustment for him to come over here to Major League Soccer under multiple managers with Atlanta United, now with Tata Martino this year. It's been an adjustment for him, so I think it has to be system plus adaptation, I think, is what you're looking at here. And I think that Josh is doing that early on. Craig and James hanging out with us from Footy Prime. Another couple of minutes with them because I have to get them to give their blatant promo about where their game has advanced themselves and where they can be heard and all these kinds of things. We have to fill out the promo sheet for you guys before you get out of here. Craig, expectations for TFC coming into this season were what?
Well, you would think that they were aiming for a playoff spot. If they can get into the playoffs, that would be a success for them this season, I think. And I think they're heading that way and look as though they've got a chance to absolutely do that.
And, Sharms, now that you see where they are right now in the standings in the East, when you look at adjustments, players coming in, you have, we kind of have the idea of these are the guys, they're integrating. And right now, looking at where Toronto is, you're 6th at 3-2-4, middle of the pack, but there's still some space before you get to the 8 for the 9 matchup, because Columbus right now is 4 points behind it. Obviously, we're at the quarter pole here. How would you assess Toronto at the quarter pole right now, being in 6th with 3 wins in their first 9?
Yeah, unbeaten in 7 as well. A lot of draws in there, which is always a bit of a concern, especially during this long home stretch. 9 games. I think they're 6 games in right now, and they've got points, but they haven't got a ton of points with all those draws. So that's a slight concern, given that they're conceding so many goals. There's a couple of away matches before the World Cup break, which are really important, obviously, to keep the momentum going. But I think with all the new faces, I think TFC fans are pretty happy overall, despite the attendance not being great. I think it's 3rd worst in MLS right now, which is unheard of for this club.
Well, it's like 5 degrees outside.
Well, that's part of it. But we're
on.
tough up here, John. You kidding me? It's football weather. 5 degrees, rain. Come on.
Short sleeves. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing what a bit of winning will do, though, and maybe a few degrees in the old barometer there. That will change everything. But yeah, I think they're where they would expect to be at this point in the season. They're going to get better, obviously. They didn't bring in a number of signings till very late in the window, as is the MLS way, it seems, right? So you don't really know what you have, but it couldn't have been much worse in the last few years, really. And they've been loyal to Robin Fraser, who seems to be paying off right now. He's a calm, collected kind of guy, not too emotional, which is what this team needs. So I think they're probably pretty happy at the moment with where they're at in 6th place. It's a weird league, you're in the hunt, right? And then you get to the show, who knows what happens. But overall, in what's going to be such a weird season with the World Cup anyway, I think they're very happy with where they're at.
Yeah, even though you're not banking as many points at home as you would like.
Mhm.
Craig, I come walking in the door at BMO this weekend. Is there anything else that we have not hit on the board that folks need to be keeping an eye on, other than sitting on the under the overhang so they don't get wet?
Yeah, yeah, perhaps. Well, I would expect a bunch of chances, probably a bunch of goals as well for a team. I mean, if Atlanta come in here, like I said before, if they come in here and look after themselves and hold up Josh Sargent, organize themselves, they will play a very chaotic type of style. Toronto SC in the last few games, that's what it seems to be, very disjointed, but offensively creating chances. So it's going to be important that everybody, and Turner in goal does well. Like, he played well again last night, but organizes everything defensively and structures themselves. And if they do that, they'll have an absolute chance, because they will get opportunities in the offensive zone. When you mentioned about, playing to a style that's going to suit strikers, Josh Sargent, or anybody, somebody like Kyle Beierlein, the Canadian international, strikes me as somebody that wasn't doing too well in Spain. Then he ends up in the Dutch league, doesn't get an opportunity. Almost, we're wondering whether he's even going to get in the squad or play for the national team come the World Cup. He makes a move. He gets a place in Southampton, and that seems to be just the right fit for him. The right structure, the right players that he's playing with, and he can't stop scoring all of a sudden. So you're right. It's so important to play to the strength of the striker and have those players that can do that to help, accommodate those strikers as well. And it does take time.
And so then for me, I guess the matchup to look at is the center back pairing for Atlanta United, a combination of Anea Mihai, Stian Gregerson, and or Juan Barracol, going up against Josh Sargent for the matinee on Saturday. Okay, Sharms, I need you to cut the promo for me, and I need you to include the other business that you are in, because we have to figure out how to get the pies from the Golden Horseshoe down here to the studios so we can share the experience and the love and all of the elbow grease that you have put into the pies. So tell me, Footy Prime, tell me about the pies before you get out of here.
Yeah. Well, Footy Prime, we started this back in 2019. Craig, myself, Danny Dichio at the time, Dan Wong, and Jeff Cole. Wow. Since then, Deitch has gone to the coaching ranks, of course, in Detroit right now. But yeah, we try to stay relevant. We thought we'd be there for a year or so, and then we get offered amazing jobs in the broadcast industry. And here we are now, 6 years later, still doing this. But no, we love it. It's very much banter oriented. It's like a bunch of good friends having a few pints, talking about all things sport, football, using the sport really as a vehicle for wherever we want to go. We have a lot of fun. We record 4 to 5 times a week. Footy Prime, the podcast, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We have a YouTube channel as well. Follow us on Instagram, all that good stuff. And basically, we're a bunch of idiots trying to sound smart, which I think makes us some good content. And as for the pies, Sharman's Proper Pies in Ontario here in Canada. And we'd love to expand. And anyone that wants to invest financially, that would really help. And we will expand across North America. British-style pies. Craig's a fan. In fact, Craig and Danny Dichio were, when we first started the business way back in 2018, they were our guinea pigs. And I would try some things, make some pies for them. They give me their feedback, having known the pie culture from England. So without Craig, there'd be no Sharman's Proper Pies.
Yeah, we were encouraging them to do it because they are fantastic.
Fantastic. See, like I said, we got to find a way to get those across the Peace Bridge and work down here to the studio space and have our breaking of the bread. You guys know, and I say this genuinely, it's always good because, like I said, Sharms and I go back probably about 2 decades, and from our time on King Street, and it's always fun for me to see how things continue to grow with you guys. We're in our 10th season. You guys are in your 8th. And so it's just great to see how things continue to evolve. Do not be strangers. If you wish to vent your spleen about anything, you've got the key to the kingdom now. You know where the key is under the doormat. You know where the garage door opener is. Just literally yell at me and go, "Yo, Nelson, look, I got to vent my spleen on something. When can I come in?" And you guys know that you can come in anytime because, hey, look, we talk. It's always good to catch up with friends. Craig, James, it's great to see you guys. And just stay dry and enjoy the game this weekend. We'll catch up with you soon. Yeah, Sharms, on the backside, when you got stuff to talk about, just literally yell at me and you'll come back in and we'll go from there. Good to see you guys.
Thanks, John.
Great
really
to see you. Thanks, John.
For sure. And likewise, mate. You're always welcome on Footy Prime. We'll get you up here at some point. very soon.
Yes, no doubt about it. There goes Craig and James. So it's great to see them and find out what's going on the planet from their perspective after what happened last night to Atlanta United, what happened last night to Toronto FC. That was kind of like our primer to get you squared away for everything going on involving the matchup coming up 1 o'clock. So I do not think that there is a pregame show or a postgame show on 92.9. I don't think so because of everything else going on, because I think there's other sports that are intervening. So I think it's going to be in quickly and out quickly in Toronto for the matchup this weekend. If it's updated, I'll let you know, and we'll find out what the broadcast parameters are. But I think it's going to be a quick in and a quick out for Atlanta United in Toronto. And it will be interesting also, Open Cup on the flip side, to find out the location of the broadcast and then the pre and post elements there as well. I think it might be quick there too on next week, Tuesday, but we'll keep you posted. I think it's going to be a quick in and a quick out because of the matinee on Saturday, and I think it's 92.9. We'll keep you posted on that. And then I think it's going to be a quick in and a quick out on Open Cup Day when they're at Matthews taking on Charlotte FC on Tuesday, but we'll keep you posted there. Later today, in 2 hours, it's Red Clay Thursday, and we go over what happened in the boys and girls brackets in the GHSA. Heather Richardson, the girls head coach at Social Circle, is going to join us. She's on her match day. So we've got her locked into the office at noon. Second we come up at noon, we go to talk to Coach Richardson, let you know what's going on there, go through the brackets, go through the matchups, and that's Red Clay Thursday. Then at 6 and 8, our high school game in round 1, it's the doubleheader at Ola, our first visit down to the Mustangs home in McDonough, and it is Cambridge and Ola at 6 and 8 tonight. It'll be a combination of Drew and Jason and me giving you updates and all the things that you need to know here as we're in round number 1 of the playoffs. Day number 3. Yesterday was not as chaotic as it was in day number 2, but we'll let you know what happened and we'll get you set up for everything. So noon, it is going to be, well, this hour, it's going to be Nino and Niko. Your power hour is going to take you through, and then we'll go a little long to kind of get caught up with everybody about what's going on in and around the stories that we missed. And there are some stories that are on the table. Update on Lamine Yamal. Liam Rosenyor was fired by Chelsea when we were off the air yesterday. There is stuff going on in Liga MX where it apparently they're going to not have promotion relegation for the foreseeable future. That came out as word earlier today. Ajax apparently cannot play at their home stadium for any kind of a playoff because of Harry Styles. And obviously what happened last night in Major League Soccer with all the chaos that's there. Nino Torres set to join us here in just a couple of minutes. I saw him send his list. I haven't looked at it, but we'll find out what's on Nino's mind as we go fully loaded around the planet in about 20 minutes. And then Niko Moreno joins us for the last half hour of the 2 hours. And then we'll mop up and we'll find out what else is on everybody's mind here as we put the Atlanta United loss to New England into perspective and focus. And we get you headed toward Toronto and a very quick turnaround. Like I said, 4 matches, 12 days. And then you've got Toronto and Charlotte in the weekend and in Open Cup. Toronto in their afternoon matinees, just to give you an idea, in their afternoon matinees, they are 2-0-4. They're 2-0-4 in their afternoon matinees. They played, that's all they've done. They have not done night games at TFC this year. They're 2-0-4 at home in the afternoons. But as you heard from James and Craig, giving up a lot of goals. And they have given up 17 on the season. So that puts them 1, 2, 3, 4. That puts them 5th worst. So that puts them 10th in the Eastern Conference when it comes to goals allowed this year. Red Bulls and Cincinnati are by far some of the worst. They've given up 23 each. Orlando is far and away the worst. They've given up 26. So that's where we are. We're going to be kind of drifting in and out of MLS and Atlanta United and all that kind of stuff today and tomorrow to get you ready for the matchup in Toronto on the weekend. It is after 10 o'clock, which means one thing. We get to go. See, now the show is kind of turning in one direction. James Sharman up in Toronto. He does Sharm's Proper Pies. You know, he was born in Britain, and then he immigrated to Canada, and that's where he has had his career with me at the Score Television Network, and that was where we first met. And so now he went into the pie making business, and pies being like, you know, proper British pies, like the meat pies. So Sharms is doing that in Toronto. So now we go from having the meal to dessert, which means we go to Lima and catch up with Nino the baker and find out what's going on. How are you, my brother, as we go fully loaded?
Yellow, yellow. Soccer Down Here fans with you. Super excited, super pumped up about this glorious Thursday here on SDH Network. And like I said, I sent a message actually last week to my buddy here, Johnny, about the logistics of getting the cakes of Nino Baker all the way up to Atlanta. So you want me to tell the story, or you?
Oh no, it's your story. It's your connection, brother. You got to tell it.
So this is what happened, guys. All right. So last weekend I got my reunion with my high school buddies, and one of them is a pilot, right? He flies from Lima to the U.S. to Miami to Orlando. I was like, hey, hold on a second, man. You're a pilot. You can get all you want in the cabin. I don't know all you want, but you can get a cake. Like, you can get a cake to this. Yeah. Just let me know when. Give me the cake, and I'll take it over there to Orlando. So now the only thing that we need is a connection, Orlando to Atlanta. So I know you had the connection, Johnny. You can make that happen. I think my part here. I did my share here. Now you got to do your share to get the cakes all the way out there.
And so this is what we're working on. We got to figure out how to make this go, to coordinate flights coming from South America going into Orlando, and then get said desserts from Orlando up here to the studio. So, and this is where we put out our bolo. Be on the lookout. We need the assistance of folks that might have Central Florida connections, so we can combine our resources and get the desserts from Nino the baker shown here in the studio on a Thursday. We are this close. This is the Adam's Rib Mash episode happening right in front of our very eyes. We are getting Adam's Rib, well, close. We're getting desserts from Nino the baker, uprooted and imported from, I hope there's no tariffs, the importing of desserts from Lima, Peru, here to Atlanta via Orlando. That's the next stage in all of this. We've gotten it to Orlando. We've just got to work that next stage and get it from Orlando up here to Atlanta. Okay. I'm already hungry. All right. Topic number one. Universitario fires the coach and wins. What the heck happened here?
Right here. I have hopes, right? Hopes, I got expectations on Javier Rabanal, who was the coach that Universitario Deportes signed. He was a champion with Independiente del Valle last year. He's a Spaniard. He's well connected. He got all the knowledge, all the soccer knowledge. But I think his Spanish was in Latin American Spanish. I thought that we got lost in translation, even though we speak the same language. There was no connection. There's just no connection between the coach and the players, and they managed to come up with only 45 minutes of what could have done a great year for Universitario Deportes under Javier Rabanal, but it wasn't. They only have 45 minutes against Sporting Cristal when they play great soccer. That's all they got. But we are 11 rounds into the competition, and 45 minutes is not going to give you far, right? So he lost again, and then decided to, you know what, I'm going to pull the plug on you, brother. This is La U, and we are going after something hasn't been done in Peruvian soccer, which is winning 4 titles in a row. Nobody has done that in the professional era. And La U did it before, all right? In 2020 or 23, 24, 23, they started with under Companucci. He had seven games into the competition, and they decided, you know what, this is not going to work. It's not going to work. Bye-bye. They got Fossati. Boom. We won 3 championships in a row. So sometimes you gotta take those decisions. It was a hard decision. I'm not really agree with it because I think he might get it make it happen for Universidad, but it wasn't the case. So last night, Lau became Lau again. Vertical, inconsistent, intense. All the players, and he made, and the coach, the interim coach, which is he made only a few tweaks. It's not like, I'm going to completely, we're going to change this. And no. What he did was, I'm going to put the starting 11 that won the championship last year. The same one, only with the addition of 2 players, Fara and Miguel Vargas, the goalie and the center back. That's it. Everyone else is part of the team that won the championship last year, and it worked. It just worked. It's just because Romano was just one piece away to put the perfect piece in a puzzle, and he didn't have the time for it. They didn't give him the time. Probably, I would say he probably got it done right this time, but we'll never know because he's gone now. And there's one detail, Johnny, about his exit. Usually when coaches leave, they'll go to training camp, say goodbye to the players, and he just walked away, no saying goodbye to any player. So that distance, I don't know. It's gives you something to talk about, right, Johnny? What do you think, man?
Yeah, no, it's you make a subtle tweak, things get different and things get better. It makes you wonder what you're overthinking the room sometimes. And I think and the fact that you're leaving and you don't say goodbye to players, that to me kind of rubs me the wrong way. It would rub me the wrong way anyway.
And you know what? In various press conferences, I think he was too direct in saying things, and you don't blame the players. I mean, there's something that there's many things that he said and done that weren't right. He was mentioning social media way too much, right? Like, social media doing this, and social media this and that. Who cares, brother, man? Who cares what social media says or it doesn't matter. The fans are mad. You don't say that. You don't try to please people. You're trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to win. You're trying to get going to something that they never achieved. You don't try to, they're so mad, we're going to do this. And then he was saying, blaming players. He was blaming players. You know what? I made the substitutions. This was a system, but the players, this player and that player and this player, we're not on the same page. So we got to figure out someone else to who can get the job right. No. There's some things that you can say, and some things that you gotta say it, but behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta lecture your players. Hey, why are you doing this? Behind closed doors, bro. The world doesn't have to know that. No, outside everything is marvelous. Inside might be a hell, but you gotta tell outside that we're good, and you gotta believe it that you're good. You're in good shape. No, I think that the message and the blaming and there were many things that were not clicking and they're falling apart. And then you see the players last night. It's crazy, right? Because when you call games, we can feel the energy coming from the players, right? And you felt last night that there was a relaxed atmosphere. It was intensity. It was willing to win, but they were comfortable with each other. They were just, I know what he's. I saw Oreja Flores that he's been playing under 6 points all season long. He was just clicking and moving and running it was great. It was great to see the team winning again. We won with authority. I told people, they were, Nino, what do you think about the game tonight? We're going to crush this team. We're going to win, and we're going to win big. and we just did 4-1, baby, 4-1. First time I put 4 goals in the tournament this season, and I think this is the breaking point, the turning point, and the good thing here for Universitario is that they don't have to win the Apertura, they don't have to win the Clausura. Just gotta be top 4, get into the playoffs, and get the job done.
Mm-hmm. Topic number 2, and this is a gentleman that when we do our Monday night show, Soccer Over There, when Jason is in with us and Jarrett's in with us, we always have a section reserved for this particular individual. Why, you may ask? Because of the young lady that he has had a long-term relationship with. Her presence on social media, and just the telenovela that is with these two particular individuals in their on again, off again. Hi, I'm a model. Hi, I'm a TV host. Hi, I'm a soccer player. I'm doing well. I'm not doing well. I'm on the bench. I'm not on the bench. I'm leaving. You're with somebody else. No, you're with me. The Mauro Icardi Chronicles is a staple of Soccer Over There because of all of the chaos that he and Wanda Nara are responsible for on a seemingly weekly basis. It's been kind of quiet. It's been kind of quiet for the last little bit. But then you come in here with topic number 2. Icardi to River Plate nonsense again. So we have nonsense on SOT, and then you want to bring in nonsense involving Icardi and River. Explain yourself, sir.
Oh my God! So why River Plate? They haven't learned the lesson. Why they wanna bring players back to Super League Argentina? Why are insisting on this? And I say Icardi because he's the biggest name, right? But they're also trying to bring back Gio Simeone to River Plate. But we're gonna leave Gio out of this because Gio he's no trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's no trouble. Troublemaker is Icardi, the flash Icardi, who's not doing great in Galatasaray. The thing, John, is that they're close.
Mm-hmm.
They're close, and now the part of the negotiation with Icardi is on his turf. So if he says yes, Galatasaray is going to let him leave, and River Plate is going to get this multi. What do we call him? The most iconic? No, but iconic in a bad way, because it's not iconic because of his goals and everything. He's
an anti-hero.
Yeah. So, something like that. But I think he's going to do great. If he comes to River Plate, I think he's going to do great. That's the part that I don't want to accept that I have to, because even at 33, even with all the history, hopefully if he's healthy 100%, which is he's not 100% healthy. He has an knee injury. We'll see. I mean, we'll see how he deals. Chacho Godet deals with him, and oh, Chacho, they're gonna bring you some trouble, man. He got that locker room under control, and now he's gonna bring the camera, the social media, the TV shows, and everything that comes with Mauro Icardi to disrupt this brotherhood that he's having right now in River Plate. It's gonna be trouble, baby. It's gonna be trouble.
It's going to give us stuff to talk about if it happens. Topic number 3, as Nino gets properly hydrated for this one, the voice of the Portuguese Primera on Fubo TV. The 4 reasons why Sporting didn't get their three-peat. And looking at the standings coming into this weekend, you have 4 or 5 matches left. And at the top, Porto is 7 points clear. And Benfica is at 72 points. Sporting is second with a match in hand right now at 71 points. Braga also has a match in hand, but they start the chase pack at 53. So literally it is 1, Porto off and running, with 4 matches to go on their end. Benfica's got 4. They're back by 7, but Sporting is a point behind, and they've got a match in hand to try to get into that second Champions League spot, or the Champions League qualifying spot, I would guess at this point. So why, sir, Sporting, as they chase spot number 2 in the standings in the Portuguese Primeira, why did they not get their three-peat?
There's a big reason. Actually, I said 4, right? Because there's only one, truly. But I said 4 because it's a combination of words. Anyway, so in Portugal, this is the rule in Portugal to win championships, right? You don't win the championship by beating Porto, Sporting, Benfica, and Braga, right? The big 4. If you win the Clásicos, you're not gonna win there. You gotta beat Tondela, you gotta beat Alberca, you gotta go to Santa Clara, you gotta go to Moreirense, you gotta go to Famalicão and win those games. Mm-hmm. That's how you get the title, get the job done in Portugal. But this year was different. It was an anomaly. Okay, an anomaly in Portugal because outside of beating the Famalicãos, the Moreirense and all, Sporting lost almost every Clásico against the Big 4. Out of 18 possible points, they got 4. They got 4 points out of 18. And those are the 4 big reasons why Sporting did not win the three-peat this year. Wow. They got all the victories outside, but they just couldn't get the Clásicos done. They couldn't get the Clásicos done. They couldn't beat Braga, it couldn't beat Benfica, it couldn't beat Porto, and that's where they lost their the championship. And then there's another crazy part also in this tournament, that Benfica most likely will end up undefeated and not winning the title and not in second place, undefeated. So this is a wild season in Portugal, man. Benfica undefeated, not in the top 2, and Sporting not winning the three-peat because of they didn't win the Clásicos all the way around this season. I don't think it's going to happen again. This is the first time with me. It's 7-8 years calling this league where the big 4 didn't win the league because they did not beat the Clásicos. Did not win the Clásicos. It's crazy. It's just crazy. We talked about this with my buddies in Tuesdays, and we were all surprised. We were all surprised that he went like this, because if you're gonna lose points, but you not that many. Mm-hmm. Not that many. I mean, sometimes out of the 18, you get 12, you get 9, but 4. Ooh. It's just.
That's not a lot.
No,
that is not a lot. Before we go back into the weekend and what you're going to be doing at Fubo TV, World Cup Chronicles, Andreas Brehme and the coldest move is World Cup Chronicles this week. Okay, sir. How was Andreas Brehme Mr. Freeze? What happened here?
All right. So I got this discussion, with my buddy Felipe. He's a soccer junkie. We soccer junkies got together and discussed things about the sport. And we were talking about all the greatest goal in the World Cup, right? Everybody refers to the Maradona goal in '86. There's many other goals right now. James Rodriguez goal, the Forlan goal to the Netherlands in 2010. But there's this is a penalty goal. But why? Why is that called? Why so much aura like that? To use that word now, it's so trendy. 1990, the finals between Germany and Argentina in Rome, Italy, 1990. It comes up with a penalty for Germany. right? But it was a weird game, right? It was a weird. Do you watch it, Johnny? You remember that game? Do you watch it or not?
I probably did, but go ahead and refresh my memory.
So this old controversy about Alberto Codesal, which was the referee of that match, who didn't call. There were like at least 4 penalties in that game. At least 4. I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating. 2 for Argentina and 2 for Germany, and he only called this one. He only called this penalty to Augenthaler, and got the red card too involved. And then, it's funny, right? Because, all right, they called the penalty, and Bremen took the ball. He was going to shoot it. And Jurgen Klinsmann right next to him, you better score this one, right? Because you're about to win the World Cup. If you don't, it's going to be on you. And Klinsmann and Bremen turns up to him like, you want to take it? No, it's okay, bro. Go ahead. You got the ball. You got the ball. All right. Okay. So he takes the ball and he scores. But guess what? There's a small and at the same time giant differential here.
Mm-hmm.
He's a lefty.
Mm-hmm.
Left back for Germany. Guess whose foot? Which foot did he use for this one?
Well, let's see. So if he used his left foot in the penalty shootout against Mexico in '86, I'm guessing he did not use that same foot in 1990 in the shootout against England.
So a lefty scores the penalty in the finals of the World Cup with your non-dominant foot.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that cold or what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You gotta get some cojones to do that, brother. I'm telling you, brother. Oh my! I can't think enough of this. My buddy Felipe is like, that is the greatest goal of all time in the World Cup because of that. That reason. That reason on it. It's not that pretty, but there's an argument. Huh?
I mean, that's that. No, there is. I mean, it's for me. Obviously, the Maradona dodging through traffic and all that kind of stuff is there. Then you look at this one, and then I go historic. It's like the goal that the U.S. scored, way back when they got their historic upset over England back in, it was at 1950. I would say that would be up there as well, just from the sake of impact. The goal that was scored by South Africa to open up the tournament, and it was scored, by a South African player. I'm looking at it more from historical context than necessarily, Maradona, obviously, Brema, obviously, but then I go historical when it comes to like a top 5 or something like that. So that's why I would go the South African goal for Bafana, the U.S. in 1950, Jeffrey Hurst. Those
Pele, the Carlos Alberto goal in the final, that Pele pass, and yeah.
So that's kind of where I go when it comes to trying to figure out my history. What are you calling this weekend, sir?
All right, what do we got here? Let me see my thing here. I just got it this morning, man. He sent me early in the morning. We got Benfica on Saturday. Benfica Moreirense on Saturday. We got a doubleheader on Sunday. Stadium Famalicão at 9:30. Well, 10:30 in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sporting 3:30. And I got that game that the Sporting has on hand on Wednesday, the 29th. Sporting versus Tondela. That's where Sporting will catch up on games, and they'll be all level on games. No more games on hand for Sporting, but it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Benfica is a big favorite at a -625 at 1 o'clock Eastern time against Moreirense. They're a +1350. Estoril is a dog at home to Famalicão at a +200. Famalicão is a +120. Draws a +250. Sporting on the road is a -769 in the composite at AFS. AFS is a +1800. And we don't know the numbers yet on Tondela and Sporting on the 29th. As always, my friend, we're this close. We're getting closer to figuring out the logistics of getting Nino the Baker's Baker Goods up here to the studio. So we're locking it down. We've got your parts taken care of. We got to get it from Orlando to Atlanta. That's what we got to do. Then we figure out the logistics and go from there, and we will eat it live on the air.
Oh, that would be awesome.
We will eat. That will be breakfast when it shows up here. That will be the next breakfast that we have, and I will gain 10 pounds just not sharing with anybody. We love you very much, my friend. We will catch up with you again next week. Have great calls this weekend. May the pipes be with you, and we will catch up with you as always. Great to have you come in fully loaded on your Thursday.
All right, guys. Thank you. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
There we go, Nino Torres. We're this close. Folks, we are this close to the desserts. And like I said, follow Nino the Baker on Instagram. And then you get to see what he's doing on a daily basis. It is insane. And to have that insanity, have one stage taken care of, to have that insanity brought into Atlanta. Literally, it's like we have Sharm's proper pies in Toronto. We got to figure out how to get that through the Peace Bridge and down here. Maybe if we know somebody in Buffalo that can ship it to us. And then we got a way to get Nino's baked goods to Orlando. Now we got to find a way to get it from Orlando, probably in dry ice, from Orlando to Atlanta. That's what we got to figure out. This is just the most amazing breakfast anticipation that I have. I will have cake for breakfast during the anniversaries. Because that's just, it's anniversary, it's cake, it's there, it needs to be eaten. You don't want cake to feel lonely or go bad. So you have it for breakfast. And so we've got to figure out how to get something from Orlando to Atlanta so we can properly sample Nino the Baker. Nino the Baker on Instagram and ESP Nino on the Twitters and the X and the 280 character app. Okay. Waiting for our friend Niko Moreno to join us from the West Coast. And we will talk about what happened last night in Major League Soccer. On the whole, it was crazy because you had, and for those in the Discord for Picks of the Week, I had the number of goals in the week for Major League Soccer. And I think I had it at 93, I think was the number, or 90, I think, and there were 43 goals last night. And so I would anticipate that it might be not as much on Saturday and Sunday, just because we had this outburst that we had here to start the weekend, to start the week off. In the midweek with everything that happened, San Jose is apparently just toying with people now. They're just they're fiddling with folks. And it is, you're looking at what Bruce Arena is doing right now over there in San Jose. The young talent that's come through, 4 goals in 11 minutes. They got the win, and it was dominant. Like I said, second half, 4 goals in 11 minutes, including a PK. Preston Judd, I think, had 2 and 6. It was Austin literally had a 1-0 lead. They scored in the 9th minute. Then they didn't. Second half was all San Jose. 5-goal second half, you win 5-1. Just to give you an idea about the goals that were on display yesterday. Purple team put 4 on Charlotte. That was crazy. Then you have 2 8-goal thrillers, both finishing at 4. Jess Sharman called NYCFC and FC Cincinnati at the 106/68, otherwise known as the Bronx futsal pitch. And she and Lori Lindsay had that one last night. And then Red Bulls in D.C. was another 8-goal thriller. Toronto and Philly was back and forth. Milanowski scored to make it 1-0. Then it's 2-1. Then it's back and forth and finishes with 6 goals. So literally you had 3 games in the early window, 22 goals. More than half of your goals yesterday came from 3 matches. Red Bulls DC, NYCFC Cincinnati, and Toronto and Philly. So Abby, all right. So now we have, all right. So we might have a solution. We might have a solution, and it might be Abby. If Abby is saying that she travels up and back regularly, the next time, Abby, that you head down to Central Florida and you're on your way back, we've got to coordinate this. And what I will do is I will stipulate to make sure that Nino has more than just one thing. My volunteered tariff to you, if he gives us 2, you take 1. Because the big cakes he makes, you get one of whatever. So we need to have him send at least 2. You get 1, and we get 1 brought here to the studio. Okay, last half hour of the show, of the regular 2 hours. I say last half hour of the show. Who am I kidding? It's a Thursday. And so it is time to gas up and find out what's going on as we go Thursdays with Niko. Niko Moreno joining us, and we'll find out what cup of coffee he's got. Is it number 2, sir?
Hey, what's going on, John? Can you hear me okay?
You are good, sir. You are styling. You're wearing the silver and black lid. You're gassed up and ready to go. We can hear you. We can see you, and you are styling and profiling. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I try not to wear my NFL hats, but considering that it's NFL draft day, I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and allow myself to do that. I am hoping to get a haircut later today. So, maybe next week I'll be no cap and all hair. But yes, this is cup number 1, believe it or not, because I do sound a little chipper for some reason. I know that I.
Well, did the boss get you out of the rack at 3:30 to go get the workout in?
She did not. That might be it. Her clock did not. The alarm didn't go off. So I was not gonna get up on my own. So yeah, maybe that's why I'm a little rested. Woke up 5:30 is my usual wake up. So I was able to just kind of get a little extra hour of sleep. Maybe that's why I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Cup number 1. You're a braver man than I. We are in the stretch of a lot of matches in not a very long period of time. And last night, I think somebody just decided to let all of the bulls out of the ring, and then just like, we're going to open the gate and just send them on. And I was talking about the 3 goals in the 3 matches in the early window where you had 22 goals. Period. 22 goals. More than half of the goals that were scored last night were in 3 matches in the Eastern 7:30 window, with NYC's match, Red Bulls match, and Toronto and Philly's match. Toronto and Philly scoring 6 goals. I think Philly's given up their allotment for goal scoring for like this month and next. Before we get into individual games, what do you think about the night on the whole in the midweek?
The night on the whole.
Yeah, just top to bottom from what we had happen last night. Before we get into like individual matches, we had our bit of chaos. We had like 43 goals that happened last night. We had 2 that had 6 goals, 2 that had 8 goals, and then you had some snoozers. But when you look at the night on the whole, what sticks out to you?
I guess I would start with New York City. I think New York City is a team that at least I was doubting, because I was not sure if they had done enough to replace Alonso Martinez. We all were wondering where goals were going to come from, at least from the standpoint of a 9. But Nico Fernandez has turned into Tati Castellanos. I mean, he has been so good up top, just doing absolutely everything. He gets an early brace in this one, and then game goes off its hinges after that. But the reality is that New York, despite how poor they were defensively last night, because it feels like overall every team forgot how to defend and how to play. If you look at the DC game is another one that it was just no defense, all offense. But New York in general, I'm starting to feel like they can be a real contender, and it's a little bit about their form. I think that they will need some depth, and I think that in the transfer window they can give themselves a better chance to really solidify themselves as a contender in the East. But that one stands out for me. Orlando City, man, I still don't believe it. Look, Charlotte is as inconsistent as it can be. Orlando lets the kids play, if you will, and they're a desperate team, and sometimes desperate teams will have desperate measures, but those desperate measures would only give you results to a certain extent. So for anybody thinking that Orlando has figured it out and they fixed it, I will say something though, that defensively they've lessened the conceded goals, and that's credit to the team in general. But I still feel like this is a very poor team that might give you some sporadic good results. And lastly, I'm gonna get heat for this, but another James Rodriguez game where he's watching off the bench. Minnesota gets the win. Dallas loses, or they might have lost Peter Musa for at least the Sounders game, which benefits the Sounders. But I hate to see an injury to such a top guy.
Yeah.
But that one was fresh in my mind. I was hoping to see a little bit more of James Rodriguez put it on. Ended up seeing Peter Musa get injured. Dallas is they're a decent team. I don't think that they're a top tier team in the Western Conference, in my opinion. I'm not as high on Dallas as some of my other colleagues or pundit friends that are pretty high on Dallas. But now without Peter Musa, hopefully it's nothing that's too serious. But yeah, that's kind of some of the things that stand out from last night.
107 minutes so far in 6 opportunities for James Rodriguez. Shows up for the FC Cincinnati match back on the end of February. 26 minutes as a sub 2 weeks later against Vancouver. 13 minutes the following week in the matchup that you got to keep an eye on with Seattle. Then it's a month. Then it is on an Open Cup with the Sacramento match. He starts, gives you 67. Then 4 days later against Portland, cup of coffee, literally. It was a minute. And then he did not play last night. So 6 matches, 2 times he's in the lineup and he's a sub, didn't play. One other time basically comes in for a glorified howdy do. He waves his hand, the match is over, and you're gone. One match he started, and that's where 67 of these 109 minutes, what did I say? So 107 minutes. So 67 of 107 minutes come in an Open Cup performance that was 9 days ago. And you've got 40 minutes in 3 other matches where you're a sub in MLS regular season play. I mean, look, let me see how many matches Minnesota United has between now and the World Cup break, just so we can kind of gauge what you're looking for here, for James to get into game shape. I mean, this seems like this is a truck that is stuck in the mud right now. This idea. It just seems like, it sounded like a great idea, but he hasn't been available. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, very, very busy. So 7 matches before the end of this window going into the World Cup break. And you've got 5 of those matches in the month of May. So, okay, but I think you kind of need to pick up the pace a little bit if you're trying to have James be James in all bold letters by the time he gets to the World Cup.
Look, to me, just never sounded like a good idea. And don't say I didn't tell you so, because I was here. We put it out there. I mentioned the James issues. And it's difficult to say that because he is such an iconic figure for Colombian soccer. But the reality is that I could only imagine. That scene from The Wolf of Wall Street where, the Belfort guy's trying to sell some really bad stock. That's what I could just picture James' agent talking to Minnesota ownership and be like, look, man, I got this really good player for you for this much money. And it was just never going to work out, man. It was never going to work out. He was never going to have a lot of minutes. I had 6 is what I said, I believe. I thought that he was going to play at least 6 games. We'll see if he makes that. I mean, it's just has been even worse than I thought. And it's to the point where even his national call-ups are coming into question and people are freaking out. And the ceiling is literally falling for the Colombian national team from various standpoints. So yeah, we'll see what happens with James Rodriguez, but it just doesn't seem like a very good signing. And he might go as, I don't know if it's one of the biggest busts, because I think that there was some sort of expectation that he might not play a lot of games, at least for most of us. So I don't know if he'll go like biggest bust, but might be up there.
Well, yeah, it seems like maybe Jeremy Irons and margin call. It's like, and Kevin Spacey is trying to explain to Jeremy Irons about, what do we do? It's like, sell it all, but then no one's gonna want to ever do business with you ever again. And Jeremy Irons is talking to Kevin Spacey and that scene where they're trying to figure out what to do before the the banking collapse. And so that came out in 2011, margin call. That's your IMDb for the day. But yeah, it's just like, well, but there was talk that this was only going to be just a temporary thing, but could be renewed until it was like to the end of June or whatever. And then
Yeah.
they would talk about a renewal after that. I guess if Hamas felt, comfortable or whatever in the situation, wanted to come back and help out Minnesota in whatever aspect. But yeah, you got 4 matches I think that he's played in. One was only a minute, and it's like you're here. You might be getting in shape, but you're not really helping out Minnesota United a whole lot. I don't know if this gets renewed unless it comes in under the idea of, yeah, we knew he was getting into playing shape, but yeah, we want to have him come back before, for the rest of the season to kind of help us out and help him get into shape. That's the only thing I can anticipate with this. Does it get
Yeah,
renewed?
I mean, absolutely. I think it's going to be on Hamas. And look, if I'm Hamas, I want to clear my name a little bit. I don't want this on my record this badly, ending this poorly. So maybe I push for an extension beyond June. But if I'm Minnesota, I don't know if I do that. It's such a difficult situation because to me, he was kind of forced onto the club, forced onto the coaching staff. I really don't think the coach rates him necessarily. He himself has some real concerns and lack of shape and form and conditioning stuff. So it's just a big storm in a little tiny glass. And I don't think anybody's going to end up winning out of this. So if Hamas wants to come back, I don't know if Minnesota would be like, hey man, come back, but on a lower salary or less than you came in already, which is to his standards already pretty low. So it was just never going to work. And then now we'll see what the results are and what little juice you squeeze out of that lemon, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be very high. But lastly, I did want to shout out also San Jose last night once again, 5-1 against Austin. They continue to work. That was another one that I should have shouted out about last night. They just continue to get results. And look, Austin missed chances, missed opportunities. Facundo Torres, if he puts that 2-0 that he had right in front of goal, maybe changes the game a little bit. But San Jose seems to be a team that just has goals on the chambers, and they'll do it at the end. They'll be opportunistic. I look back to that LAFC game, and I see a game that was pretty much even until like the last 25 minutes, and this one was kind of similar where they just kind of held off to that second half, and all of a sudden Niko Shaqiri is just on the run, and you got Aboda moving right into right spaces, and you got Judd looking like Sam Surridge. I mean, it's pretty remarkable what San Jose is doing right now. They turned me into a believer. I'm not going to shy away from saying that I did not think they were going to be this good. I thought they were going to be battling barely for a playoff spot. And now they look like they can't be stopped. I mean, 8 out of their 9 games they've won. I mean, best start in club history. I mean, man, they're just red hot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I mean, and it got to a point in the second half where it's like Austin had a lead, and you're going, okay, Austin's got a lead. And then in the second half, they just put the pedal down and mashed it. And it was 4 goals in 11 minutes, and it's over. And Preston Judd had a brace, including a PK. So it just gets to the point where Bruce Arena is just toying with folks now. It's just like, you know what? Here's tell you what, well, let's do this. Let's do this. And it's a combination of all those young guys and those key pickups where Timo Werner doesn't have to be the guy. He can be a guy.
Yep.
And I think that's important with the development that you're seeing there with San Jose. Other stuff going on last night out at Rio Tinto. I have heard that there are some folks on this Miami roster that are pretty decent, and you got to see Father Time kind of turn the clock back just a little bit, even if it was just on an egg timer for one of those folks. But Rodrigo de Paul, I've heard he's very good. He has his moments. And this Messi guy, I've heard he's good. He has his moments. And it just ends up once again, you're waiting. It's like you're waiting for the inevitable. And it just seems like RSL, you look at Diego Luna and you look at the young guys, Hezar Khani and Gozo. And that's really something that's going to be a fun watch with Pablo over the next couple of years. But at the end of the day, you're just like, here comes this big wave of experience and pressure. It's a goalless draw with 10 to go. You're like, yeah, okay, whatever. 2 goals in short succession, and Messi and friends win on the road twice in 4 days. And their home record isn't all that great this year, but they've won twice in 4 days in very, very tough environments in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, this was another one where RSL could have gone on the lead early, and it was just a goal that was called off initially, and by VAR. Sounds like it was fine. It was the whole blocking the view of the goalkeeper on the offside position. Fine. Then Goso has one that he could have put away. Dub doesn't put it away. Luna was creating a lot of opportunities, but there just wasn't that finishing touch. And when you talk about, as you mentioned, these guys that they're somewhat good, you cannot allow them to stay in the game, right? So you got Lionel Messi in front of you. You got Rodrigo De Paul. Luis Suarez comes in and does his thing, right? You have this team that, regardless of what happens, has this individual talent, and you can't let them stay in the game, and that's what happened. So RSL did not take advantage of their opportunities. I'm very high on RSL. I think they're a very good team, but they cannot have this sort of games where they're just not putting the ball in the back of the net. And on the other side, look, I find it amusing how, we try to, or in general, media and analysts, we try to figure out things. Well, maybe it's Hoyos that really figure out, the 3-man back line for Miami and all these things, but it's really not that complicated, man. I mean, the 3-man back line seemed like a thing that they should have been doing for a long time, because Miami is very poor defensively, and just having that extra help in the back, is beneficial. Falcon needs the help because he apparently cannot be given too much space because he has no idea what to do with it. So just little things, little adjustments. But the reality is that Messi runs the show. Messi and friends are the ones that decide what happens, and they're going to continue to live off of the Messi magic. I mean, you look back at the game before that. I mean, they won the game at the end with some Messi magic, right? But the game wasn't really that good. They were back and forth. They won it at the end, but it continues to be just individual moments for Inter Miami. So, yes, it is about the talent. It is about all of these phenomenal players. But I still think that at one point you're going to have to need a collective. And that's why, again, I'll probably be wrong once again, but I don't think that Messi and friends win the whole thing this year, but they definitely have a lot of talent.
Yeah, and then you end up with, we talk about San Jose, LA just kind of worked their way through. LAFC gets a goalless draw last night, but yeah, San Jose right now, they are causing a lot of problems, and I don't know what their long-term sustainability is going to be, but they're going to be problems in the Western Conference for LAFC. And I think that whoever comes out of the West, as you're chasing after a Nashville or you're chasing after a Messi and friends, then it's going to be, I think that at the top of the standings in each conference, I think it's going to be very, very entertaining, because you're seeing these new players like a Nashville, like a San Jose come in. So it's not just the names that we're used to seeing, but you're getting a couple of key transactions taken in San Jose and in Nashville, and you're seeing what can be for these teams at the top. It's not just the same old names right now.
No, and I like that. I mean, that's the beauty of MLS in general. And yes, there are some teams that are surprising, like San Jose, but Nashville, they had been coming. They were building something. You saw it last season. They're able to get more talent. They're dealing with CCC and MLS play, which is never easy. It kind of feels like LAFC is having an even harder time than Nashville dealing with both. But that's kind of the beauty of it. I think that you've had all these teams. San Diego's been a mess. I mean, they've kind of fallen apart. And, is it the fact that you don't have Chucky Lozano and you haven't done anything with the DP spot? What happens with that whole saga, the whole telenovela? I mean, is it depth?
The lack of discipline. With all
lack of discipline.
The red cards that they've been getting. What is it, 6 matches in a row that they've gotten a red?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, to me, it's just, and I know that Mikey Veras says that, yes, they're tired, and I get that from, balancing out multiple comps, but it's just the idea of, come on, let's be disciplined here in these situations and not do anything that goes over the line that gives these center refs an opportunity to have us go a man down. But it's like 6 straight comps that they've had a red card, which is insane to me. I can't think of the last time that I've seen something like that.
And there's always something, right? Is it Dua sticking his arm out when he shouldn't have? Is it, a double yellow? Like there seems to be always something for this San Diego team. But I'm more concerned with their lack of offensive volume and offensive creativeness, because if anything, you always saw that from San Diego, right? They had the right style. Dreyer was always in the right positions. Pellegrino was getting off to a good start, right? There were all these components that you, at the very least, you were getting a San Diego team that always looked dangerous, and that just hasn't been the case for the last 3-4 games. So how do they fix it? How do they make it better? I really do think that they need to shake things up a bit. Sometimes that the pressure of it all might force you to do something, and you have Chucky Lozano on his IG showing the training grounds and things. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to this, but you're going to have to make some really hard decisions if you want San Diego to get out of this rut.
So Seattle's back at it again. They got the midweek off. So they are late night Saturday hosting FCD. It's the Jesus Ferreira Bowl and the Paul Arriola Bowl. Seattle's a -137. FCD is a +350. What are you looking at in this one?
It should be a comfortable win for Seattle, especially expecting Peter Musa not to be available. No disrespect to Farrington, who's a strong attacker. I think that Dallas doesn't match up well with Seattle. I think that Dallas is a team that tends to be very gappy in the midfield. I think it's easier to play through them than around them. And because of that, I think that it fits to Seattle's strengths, with Snyder Burnell being such a good ball through passer, with Jesus Ferreira being this playmaker that can really put those through balls, with what I think is going to be a Sounders team pretty much on the offensive, waiting for a selective pressing Dallas team that I think mainly is going to want to be more physical. They're going to want to win more duels, but on the technical sense of possession and passing patterns, I just think Seattle is too good for these Dallas teams. Now, Dallas can put it on you, right? They use the width pretty well, getting forward on the attack. They especially in transition, they have been clinical, and they've been in some shootouts where they could definitely put some goals in the back of the net. But I think that Seattle's overall discipline, midfield, and their attacking presence is going to be too much for Dallas to handle. A couple of things to note from the Sounders training week. Albert Rusnak was not there yesterday. I asked Brian about it. He said there's nothing going on. Some players are taking pro days. I don't know how much I buy that, and I don't know what you would lie, though, but Albert Rusnak came off the San Luis game in what looked like with some tightness, and he sits down, he gets pulled off the field. So I'm wondering where that's at. I'll trust Brian for going on the record and saying that there's nothing there, but that's something to watch.
You also don't want to give the opposition anything to not prepare for, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. 110%. So we'll be out there today seeing what happens, where he's at. Is he off to his side? Because Paul Arriola was also off to the side doing some things on his own. So you're right. Maybe you're trying to not give the opponents any sort of, you don't want to show your cards, right? You're trying to play some real good poker face going into this game. But overall, the team just looks in very good spirits. I think that Ferreira is going to be very motivated to go in here and have a great game. I think that over the last couple of games, Ferreira has been a lot more goal dangerous. He's without a doubt one of the most influential players for the Sounders team. But if there was something that you wanted more out of him, was taking more shots, getting in dangerous positions a little more often. And I think that he's done that over the last couple of games. I thought against St. Louis had a couple of big moments where he got himself into a position to get a good header. He has a shot in front of goal that he probably wishes he could have back. He doesn't connect well, but he's just making progresses there. So I think that Ferreira is going to have a big game. We'll see what happens with the Jordan Morris saga. I think that we could see him out at winger or on the wide ends. I think that because you're trying to figure out who is the deserving 9, you might see Danny Musovski get another start. He got a start against San Luis, didn't score in 79 minutes. Then Osasa de Rosario comes in, has a very good goal. So I think that you're scratching your head if you're Brian Smetzer. So you probably want to give Moose one more chance to prove it to you. And in that time, you probably have Jordan Morris playing a little wider. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be an easy win for the home team, though. I expect them to, have some wins in this home stretch, because you don't go out on the road and find ways to win to drop points at home. So I would expect this team to continue to win at home. But we'll be out there today. We'll have all that information on Pulso Sports, of course. But I do see a Sounders team that's very in control, that has a lot of depth and a lot of competition in various positions. So this is a dangerous team right now.
All right, a couple of other matchups out west, and you can pick whichever one you want to talk about. San Jose is at All Caps at St. Louis City SC, and St. Louis is favored at a +129 right now. San Jose's a dog on the road to St. Louis at a +179. Portland, a big underdog, north of +300 at San Diego. The Murph Dragon, San Diego FC's a -133. Colorado +700 at Vancouver, who's a -278. And LAG on Sunday Night Soccer at home is a favorite at a +110 to RSL, who's a +220. What do you think?
Wow, really? I like that RSL game. So RSL, what are the numbers on RSL?
RSL is a +220 to win.
Wow. I like that. No disrespect, but LAG, they end up losing Joao Klaus. I think that they're still a very shaky team in the back. They have a hard time holding on to the ball. It's not like RSL is going to want to keep possession, but I feel like in transition, RSL is going to put LAG in a lot of problems, specifically from wide areas. So I like this game. What's the compose on the goals as well? Because a 3.5 in this one, I would not mind adding on, just because RSL missed a lot of chances in this game over the midweek. I don't expect them to do the same against the Galaxy.
+125 is 3.5.
Oh yeah, I like that.
It's a decent change. It changes at 3.25. That's where it goes from minus to plus. So +125 at 3.5 for your total, and a +220 for the visitors. So that is that's the rundown for LAG and RSL. So
that's a good one. Yeah. In San Jose, St. Louis, I don't know. Like I'm not gonna touch it, but this one seems like one of those games where San Jose is on a hot streak. They've been beating everybody, and they've looked great. And in a very MLS fashion, they dropped this game out of nowhere with like no sense at all of like any logic. But I don't know why this one to me feels like one of those games where San Jose might just drop points or against a San Luis City team that hasn't really been getting results. But I don't know why. I just get a feeling. No logic again at all. But to me, this looks like one of those MLS games where San Jose is just going to come out and just look flat and not get a result.
Okay. And we will keep an eye on it. As always, my friend, it's great to see you. And glad that you are up and around and spry, only on your first cup of coffee. And we will catch up with you again this time next week to break it all down as we keep it rolling because of this World Cup thing in like 7 weeks. Oh, he's in the Pulse today. So he's got the matching mug to go with the silver and black up top. He's got the black mug going on with the ceramic. As always, my friend, it's great to see you. And enjoy your games. Enjoy your time at the Providence and Swedish license plate renewal and 5-minute oil change. And we'll catch up with you next week, my friend.
Appreciate it. Let's see if Mendoza does the miracle for the Raiders. And lastly, here we have a really good Peter Kingston exclusive that will be on Love and Scorchers and Sound Our Heart Podcast Network. Great interview. The kid is fun. He has this very inspiring story about never giving up. And even if you don't get drafted, even if you have to go through all of these challenges, if you keep your head up high, you work hard, you get where you want. So yeah, check that out. It'll be coming out. But I appreciate you as always, guys. Have a good one.
All right, there goes Niko. He's going to go enjoy his coffee and his stuff. Official term. All right. Before we get out of here, I know that we got to kind of get into Atlanta United. We played a little bit of Alexei Miranchuk and Fafa Pico after I fixed the audio because it was like at minus 20. It's like I just pulled the file in earlier in the show and threw it in. And then, thank you for being producers for me, thinking that it was low. Yeah, because I just didn't adjust the audio. I just threw it in thinking it was going to be normal. So you heard from Alexei Miranchuk. You heard from Fafa Pico. And we talked about it last night on Full Time Report, Abe and I, where you were in control for most of the match. We talked about the shot differential, 21-7, I believe the numbers were, when it came to the just the differential in the output. You saw early on, you saw what Tata Martino was asking for. You saw Cooper Sanchez literally coming in on the inside channel on the left-hand side and almost get a shot on goal in the first 5 minutes. So you were seeing what he wanted with midfielders jumping into the play. You saw, center backs and you saw the outside backs working their way in. Pedro Amador had a couple of key crosses early on that were, creating opportunities, but just not once again the final product. Stats on the day after Fafa Pico scored 38th minute, then you had the 2 goals in 5 minutes. We talk about moments. We'll put that off to the side for a second. XG 2.57 to 1.08. Total shots 23-7. Sorry, I was off. 23-7 in shots. Matt Turner, 8 saves. 3 of them late. And there were a couple that you were like, you tip your hat because Matt Turner had that 10-minute window where he was needed, came up big a handful of times. Then you look at some of the other numbers on the day. 40 touches inside the opponent's 18, 21 shots total. And it was 11 touches inside the 18 for New England. So you had, shots inside the 18. So touches inside the opposition box was 40-11. Your shots inside the box, 14-4. So of your shots outside the box, 9, 14 inside the box compared to 4. 6 blocked shots compared to 1, 8 shots off target. However, it's classified by our friends at SofaScore. And so that was your numbers when it came to shooting. Passes in the final third, Atlanta had 37% more completed. 100 of 147. New England had 63 of 84. So Atlanta had 37 more completions in the final third on 63 more attempts. 24-21 long balls, twice as many crosses connecting, and all of those numbers, you end up with the 1 goal from Fafa Pico on a fantastic save. Miranchuk sends the cross in, goes past the far post. Amador with a fantastic save to keep the ball in play. Shot. Fafa Pico scores 38th minute. But we always talk about moments. And it was a moment off a set piece where Will Sands got to the ball before the defenders for Atlanta United. That tied it at 1. You had the Saba breakaway, and we talked about, in the postgame show, we talked about that breakaway, and in looking at, and Abe looked at, and this is for those of you that were not able to catch us on Full Time Report. Sophia Cupertino, one of our photographers extraordinaire, our senior photographer extraordinaire, was there for that sequence. And it looked like Saba, as we were looking at it, Saba was running away from us from the press box, but coming towards Sophia. So Saba on the breakaway, 3 minutes after it was tied at 1. I mean, literally, it was a breakaway. And I mean, it was just, he was gone. And the defender was catching up to him. And it looked like, Saba starts fading to the right. In looking at Sophia's photos, it looked like that there was a touch that went a little off kilter. And then he's kind of fading out to the right a little bit, and he can't quite turn and get enough power behind the ball, and it ends up as an easy save for Turner by the end of it all. Then a minute later, you end up with Carlos Heel inside the 18. Centering pass, Matt Edwards is there to defend, and it goes off of Matt, takes a funky bounce, but Peyton Miller is there. Miller gets there before the defenders do, and he puts it past Hoyos. Like I said, two moments in 5 minutes. And that's all it took to go from 1-0 up to 2-1 down. Atlanta had to chase for the final 12, and you end up with the result that you had for Atlanta United. 9 on target to 4, 8 corners to 3. All of this, Alexei Miranchuk, 50th MLS regular season appearance. And Tata Martino said after the match that Alexei was the best player on the pitch. And, I mean, we did give player of the match to Fafa because he was the goal scorer, but Alexei was the highest rated player on the night. Just to give you an idea. 3 total shots, 2 on target, had the 1 block. Passing on the night for Alexei. He had 4 key passes, 2 crosses on the night, 83% passing, 4 long balls connecting as well, going 4 for 6. So 4 key passes, 4 long balls connecting for Alexei. Then you look at his numbers on the dribble, 53 touches, 2 successful dribbles, fouled twice, 2 progressive carries. And so for someone who is starting work on the right-hand side coming into play, 2 progressive carries as well. And then you look at defensive numbers. He had 3 recoveries, and it was 4 for 7 on his ground duel. So a complete night for Alexei. And like I said, Tata said he was the best player on the pitch. And I will not dispute that. If we could kind of turn the award, the player of the match, into probably the Alexei Miranchuk Memorial Trophy, we probably could. But you end up with, once again, you had the numbers in the box on the cross. Enough defenders were there. But Peyton Miller gets there for the second goal before the defenders do. And it was not a mentality problem, according to Tata Martino. Quote, today a team played that went out to play and was superior to the opponent. They were. Impossible to think that when a team arrives at your goal 2 times, they score 2 goals. Goal difference of -9. New England had not a result on the road until last night. And the Fafa Pico you heard in the interview, every player's got to take a look at themselves in the mirror, just do better. I would suggest looking at Maddie's version at soccerdownhere.net to get her thoughts on this as well. And so it's an opportunity to learn from this match, however you wish to learn, step up and take the matinee in Toronto. So it is 1 o'clock, Apple and 92.9 The Game. So 92.9 The Game on Saturday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, probably just coming in at 1 o'clock for a 1:10 kick. And there's no mention of a pregame show or anything like that. So it looks like it's going to be quick in and quick out from Toronto for the afternoon matinee. Also, a quick reminder that if you're not reading Morning Espresso, you're starting your soccer morning without the full picture. This is Jason's gathering of all the news and information that we were front and center to last night, that we were all front and center to last night, plus what happened in Major League Soccer with all the madness there. Plus what happened around the planet with all the madness there. We talked about Lamine Yamal, where it looks like it is not as serious as first indicated. Not playing the rest of this season, but the hope is that he will be back for World Cup action. So that's the latest on Lamine Yamal. That came out very early this morning. So elsewhere in the news that happened, once again, you want Morning Espresso with Jason and what Jason assembles. Like I said, I use it as kind of like a file for me to get ready for the rest of the day. Go to soccerdownhere.net and you'll see a subscription box. You just put your email in there. It comes to you every morning. And then there are some mornings Jason will come up with audio, video versions of it, but you have the newsletter version. You can go ahead and sign up for that, send your email in, and it gives you the full breakdown of everything you might have missed and stuff to anticipate coming into today as well. Manchester City back on top. Goal difference. Burnley looked like they're heading down, so it's one and done for Scotty Too Hotty. We mentioned what happened last night with Messi and friends and everybody else that happened in the midweek. 43 goals yesterday. We'll see how many are scored on the weekend. It might be a lot of quiet matches. We'll talk about them tomorrow, anticipating a visit from our friends at Apple TV. We'll find out who that is, and we'll get you ready for anything and everything going on tomorrow. We'll get you set for the weekend in and out of the entire programming grid. Chelsea fired Liam Rossinior yesterday. and Callum McFarlane is stepping in as the interim for the remainder of the year. And this was a difficult situation, to say the very least, for Chelsea and the players who were really not looking at Rosenior as an answer to issues. They want the new manager, meaning the Chelsea players, to be a big character who can command respect in the dressing room and keep strong egos in line. Jacob Steinberg at The Guardian. The squad viewed Liam Rosenior as too inexperienced. Andoni Iraola and Cesc Fabregas, potential candidates for the job, considering what Fabregas is doing at Como. That wouldn't surprise me. Search underway for the 6th permanent manager of the Blue Co era. Bully Clear Lake is now in their 6th manager. So it really isn't any different than when it was with Roman Abramovich. 3 months into a 6.5-year deal, 107 days. 6.5-year deal for Liam Rosenior. Insider view that he was fighting a losing battle of players from the start because they viewed him as too inexperienced and felt he didn't know how to manage top players. Tried to be the good cop behind closed doors and regarded as an awkward communicator and held too many 1v1 meetings. 5th consecutive league defeat on Tuesday against Brighton. The Fernandez suspension apparently didn't sit well. Apparently, Mark Cucurella's barber, hairstylist, leaked details of the matchup against Brighton before the match happened. And so now it is Callum McFarlane who's taking over. Fabregas, Xabi Alonso, Xavi Hernandez, Marco Silva, Felipe Luis. So we'll keep an eye on Chelsea. Interesting. Okay, so Abby, I will tell Jason about the right-hand side being cut off and see if that is an issue that is a bug in the system. So we'll keep an eye on that. Okay, so let me see if there's anything else that that I might have missed before we get out of here. We got to do gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and then we're back at noon for high school. It is a Red Clay Thursday matchup tonight. Doubleheader: Cambridge and Ola at Ola, 6 and 8 on the network. Jason, Drew, and I will be there for those. We'll have updates from around the state and let you know what else is going on when it comes to day number 3 of the playoffs, day number 4 in this week. And Heather Richardson, girls head coach at Social Circle, joining us at noon to kick off Red Clay Thursday here on the network. So sign up for SDH. You go to soccerdownhere.net. You hit the read section. Boxes right there. Enter your email. Boom, it's done. You get everything that you need to get your day kicked off with Morning Espresso. Like I said, it's all there for you. USWNT is heading to Brazil for back-to-back friendlies, June 6 and 9, Sao Paulo and Fortaleza. We'll keep an eye out on that. June 6th, second half of a broadcast doubleheader. USMNT plays Germany at Soldier Field. So you have June 6th, a big doubleheader for all of that. Now, also on the board, it is, let me see if there's anything else that I might have missed when it comes to, the Cucurella's barber, that's over at the Telegraph. So one more thing before we go. Forward it to your, so if you forward it to your unused Gmail account, fine. Okay, that's weird. So it might be a MindSpring issue. Okay, so it is a MindSpring issue. Darn you, MindSpring. And so Lamine Yamal is going to miss the rest of the season, expected to be available for the World Cup. Just to give you the lowdown, it is a hamstring issue, and it was suffered in the matchup against Celta de Vigo. And tests Thursday have confirmed that first-team player Lamine Yamal has suffered a hamstring injury in his left leg. The player will follow a conservative treatment plan. He will miss the remainder of the league season, expected to be available for the World Cup. So that was the statement from Barcelona this morning. So that's your kind of the news in and around the morning here after everybody played in the midweek. So getting you into the gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, before we get out of here and come back at noon. All right. Checking. Here we go. Okay. So obviously there's a lot of talk who could replace Liam Rosenior. You had Team Talk reporting All-Ac League manager Matthias Geisler is on Chelsea's radar. 38-year-old has a little more experience than Rosenior. 2021 started at FC Liefering in Austria. 2 years at Red Bull Salzburg. Nagelsmann, Glasner, Iraola, Fabregas. That's what Team Talk is reporting. Bournemouth have joined the race for Malik Tillman, who would link up with Tyler Adams at Bournemouth. Team Talk once again. Bayer Leverkusen open to suitable offers. 35 million euro to sign for his Bayern Munich club could limit their demands. Fulham and Brentford also interested. PSG have made contact with West Ham over Mateus Fernandes, according to Foot Mercato. He would be the latest Portuguese talent to join PSG. Gonzalo Ramos, Joao Neves, Nuno Mendes. Separate report, Foot Mercato says that they're also interested in Monaco winger Magnus Akliush. Premier League clubs are interested. Monaco could be willing to let the 24-year-old leave to help their financial situation. Bayern Munich, focusing on Anthony Gordon from Newcastle. Sorry, Alex. And Hertha Berlin defensive midfielder Kenneth Eichhorn, according to Sky Germany. Move for Gordon would see him be able to link up with Harry Kane. AC Milan, Bayern Munich could try to sign Dusan Vlahovic as a free agent if he doesn't renew his Juve contract. Barcelona's Lewandowski contract expiring in the summer could be more of an option for Juve than Milan. Both have been the topic of plenty of talk ahead of the summer because of uncertainty around their contracts. Liverpool tempted to let Alexis leave. Real Madrid and ATLUTD ready to move. Football Insider. Three-letter paper, Manchester United have stressed to Bruno Fernandes that they don't want him to leave under any circumstance. Gazzetta dello Sport, Juve intensifying discussions to sign Alisson Becker, main issue being wages. Mundo Deportivo, London City going all out to sign Barcelona midfielder Alexia Putellas. That's big. Caught offside, Chelsea, Manchester United among the clubs interested in AZ Alkmaar midfielder Kees Smit. Sky Italia, AC Milan pushing Bayern Munich Goretzka as a free agent. Juve remaining in the background. Talk Sport. Inter Milan, Villa, Spurs interested in Curtis Jones at Liverpool, considering bringing his time at Anfield to an end. Team Talk. Jan Diomande, RB Leipzig, been on Liverpool's radar for over a year. John Stones leaving Manchester City as a free agent. Interest from several big league clubs, as in the Athletic. Nicola Schira, Juve are monitoring Atalanta left-back Lorenzo Bernasconi and had a scout monitoring during Ladea's Coppa Italia semifinal against Lazio. Diario, Barca have opened up formal negotiations with Club Brugge to try and sign 18-year-old winger Jesse Bisiwu. Football Insider, West Ham United center back Konstantinos Mavropanos has his heart set on a summer move to Dortmund. And Gazzetta dello Sport, while Inter Milan want Roma's Manu Kone in the midfield, AC Milan looking at Sassuolo's Ismail Kone. Do not get the two confused. Make sure that you're getting the proper Kone. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. Today, brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps them out, helps us out, helps you out, adding more matches to everything you're already watching. Fanatis, you get BN, home of AFCON. You get all the AFCONs, you get all the BNs, which means you get the Champions League in the CAF. You get all the CAF play-ins and playoffs. You get Copa Argentina. You get ties to Tigo Sports. You get ties to CATV. You get the Polish League, the French League, and the Turkish League from all the BNs. You get Libertadores and Sudamericana. We're getting close to episode 100, by the way, the Copa Libertadores show from our friend Howard Hamilton. Huzzahs to Howard when he files his next episode. You can add TVV. You do get CDO out of Chile. You get Liga 1 and Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You get a lot of the A and B divisions for a lot of other countries in South America at Fanatis and fntz.co/soccer down here. BN has Portuguese Cup at 3:45. BN Espanol is simulcasting. ESPN Deportes German Cup at 2:45. Fox Deportes Brazilian Cup at 8:30 tonight. Operario and Fluminense. ESPN Plus. Double hitter in the Eredivisie is available. German Cup at 2:30. 3 matches in La Liga. Fox O&E has Brazilian Cup simulcast. English League 2 is on Paramount Plus at 3 with Salford City and Bromley. Once again, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. All right. So let's see who was in this morning, and thanks for being a part of things as you always are. And we'll be back at it again tomorrow, getting you previewed for the weekend, who's in, who's out, who's in the middle. We'll look at fouls. We'll look at refs. We'll look at assignments, all the news going in, visit from our friends at Apple TV, see who else can come by and visit in the morning and break everything down for you. Once again, remember, noon, Red Clay Thursday. Heather Richardson, the girls coach at Social Circle. She's in a match day, and she will be getting ready for her match. We're going to talk about all of the action happened yesterday. Get you ready for all the action today. Doubleheader tonight on the network at 6 and 8, and we'll be back at it again here tomorrow. So hi, Abby, and hi, Lokeville, hi, Wiley, and hi, Derek. Exactly, Derek. Matt Turner will stand on his head in games like this, meaning the Atlanta United match, and then let 11 goals in one game for the national team. Not wrong. Let's see. So there's Alex, and we've got another one that I've got to dispose of, unless it was just there in the where is it? There we go. Yeah. Okay. So your name. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. All underscore has now been officially blocked, and now they're being reported. I give the bots credit when they want to sit there and they want to go, well, go to this Russian website. I give you credit for doing that instead of just trying to hide behind a random email address or a random web page. The ones that just say, go to this Russian website. I'm like, okay, fine. That's cool. I get it. Yeah, I'm down. I get that. That's good on you. Let's see. So Abby, I hope we can make that happen with the grabbing of the desserts from Central Florida. Morning, Alex. Morning, Jay. Let's see. Morning, Derek. Morning, Emilio. Morning, Caramel 723. Glad you're here. And let's see. There's Abby and Emilio, and who's not making the playoffs currently in the East that probably is going to make it. Well, I mean, if we look at the grid. And we go 8-9, and we kind of look at the standings. And this is just me kind of looking at things. And this is what, when you ask this, it's like, okay, you can't put somebody in without taking somebody out. And this is the tough part. Cincinnati's a part of that group at 9 points. Do they turn things around? So right now, you're 5 points out of a playoff spot to get into the 8-9. And you've got Cincinnati chasing, and you've got Philadelphia and Atlanta chasing. So you're 5 points out of a playoff spot. If you're right at the bottom of the East, you're 5 points out of a playoff spot. So focus on you, and you go from there. The 8-9 currently is Dallas and Houston. I would say San Diego gets in. I don't know about Colorado. LAG is 3 points out of a playoff spot. So maybe Dallas, Houston, Colorado, somewhere in there, because I don't think anybody below 6, unless it's Minnesota, has an issue. But Minnesota would have to fall hard because they are 5 points clear of the 9 right now. So San Diego and LAG, maybe Austin. And then you're looking, and then for me, 8-9 would be 12 points. Then you're 5 points out right now. So maybe Austin, San Diego, and LAG, and then I would look at Colorado, Dallas, and Houston in the West. So that's just my early returns, just looking at it right now. Morning, David, who's in Richmond. Well done. Let's see. Alex is there. Yes, we will do it live. So Emilio's there, and Derek is in. Abby is in. Emilio is in, and Ricky with the news from the Athletic about sending a bolo for concerns of being a patron of the World Cup. And let's see. So there's Abby and Ricky and Alex, and I think there we go. Okay. We almost made it to 11:30. So we'll be back in a half an hour to go through everything high school. We'll go over the high school brackets once again. Games tonight, 6 and 8. Back again tomorrow, 9:05. And then we'll get you ready for the weekend. Then it is Atlanta United, Toronto, 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. We'll have the reaction. We'll have final whistle up after the match is over. We'll have after the whistle, before the whistle, all the things on the network, getting you ready for Atlanta and Toronto. We'll keep an eye on that, and we will keep you all posted. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. And we'll be back at it again in a half hour live. And then we'll be back at it throughout the day with more live stuff. So we'll see you in a bit, and then we will see you again later tonight. Then we'll see you again at 9:05 tomorrow morning as we roll through this thing called soccer. It's another go-round of SDH AM. Since it is the end of the show, which applies to y'all play it safe, it means I get to do this. Back at it again in a half hour.